Good evening, one and all. Welcome to the halfway mark, sort of, maybe, of 2024. We did this in January, talking about all the movies in 2023, and it took me a while to get a light. So it may be 8 months into the year, but it's extra movies to talk about. It's the halfway mark, pros, cons, best, worst of 2024. Joining me is the same person who joined me last time is Cody Leach. Hi, Cody. How are you?
I am fucking exhausted. My kids started school again today. I had to get up at 6:30. I'm still on summertime, but I'm here.
I can't believe they it's mid-August and they're going back to school already.
Dude, they start early down here. When I moved down here from Ohio, I got fucked. My summer was like a month and a half long.
brutal.
I got out mid-June and had to go back mid-August. I was like, this is bullshit.
I get a week off. And Gray Poupe, how are you, sir?
Hey, I remembered to unmute myself. I'm doing good. Hey, I'm Gray.
You excited
Glad to be here.
Talk about movies?
Oh yeah. This time I have a scarf, but it's not for fashion purposes. There's a marsupial in here.
Says you. And lastly is Lindsay. How are you, sir?
I am the happiest to be lastly. What can I say? I'm glad. Let's just keep going, guys. Let's do a third show after this, and then a fourth one. We're going all night. No sleep. Sorry, Cody.
Okay. So there we are. So again, we're going to be doing best, worst, and surprises of 2024 of what we've seen so far, and we're going to open with the Drek, which of course would be the worst in 2024. It's been a while since we've seen. Well, Lindsay, you took a while to get to 10 this year. How many movies have you seen, and what is at the bottom for you?
I believe I'm at 20. I apologize for being a bad boy. I'm going to punish myself later, Da Vinci Code style. But do you want all of my
No, we'll start with our least favorite. All of us will give one, and then we'll work our way back around.
I mean, I guess because we just talked about it, so we might as well just get it out of the way. Like I said, Borderlands.
That's your worst movie of 2024?
What I'm going to perform as my actual worst, not just the bottom three? Okay, if we're going to
do 3, 2, and then your worst.
That makes sense. Okay. So yeah. So if we're going 3, 2, 1, Borderlands, I'd say is the third worst.
Okay.
These next two are a total toss-up, and I can
just stay with the one.
Follow instructions.
Okay.
We're going to do our 3. We're going to
for those that
2.
may not have heard, because I don't think I was here when you said it. Why is Borderlands so shitty?
It's one of those movies that when I'm watching it, I there's the movie that's happening, but I'm also seeing the movie that was butchered in order to make this movie. The same way that like Suicide Squad or like Rogue One or The Snowman and a few others that I see the seams, especially in the first like 20 to 30 minutes where there's this voiceover narration and then it's just gone. And you never hear it again. And then it's replaced with people talking when they're off screen. So it's like, I can feel where they change things. I feel where the story just falls apart. Like there's this one character that they constantly imply has some kind of like romantic history with Kevin Hart's character. And then that character just dies. And we never get any follow through. We never get anything from it. It just happens. And that describes so much of this movie. Like the only character in this movie I legitimately liked was the Psycho because he barely talks. Like everything else, just I really was not into. And I like it looked it looked like Pandora. It looked like the games. Like if you took a lot of things in like just like in a bottle, like in a snapshot. Yeah, that looks like the games. But then there's also something that's been really bugging me all year is like things are just too clean. This is a backwater, dirty, deserty planet, and everyone's costumes look like they were just stitched together for the first time yesterday. Like, I just could not get absorbed into this movie.
But isn't that like a part of the game, though, where they're kind of colorful and bright and...
You're not wrong, but is that the kind of argument that you're making to justify something in the movie, or because you liked it?
Neither. I have not seen
Oh,
it.
that's true. Okay.
Are you playing music?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to
Is
say,
it
I'm
too
just
loud?
making sure. No, a little too loud for what I would do. But anyway, I was looking around. I was like, do I have a fucking thing open? What's going on? It just randomly started, like all dramatically as he started to shit on Borderlands. It started to
Oh,
go
that was
up.
on purpose.
when I just start getting epic, music just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Wait till the beat drops.
I'll tell you the only reason that I kind of entertain the possibility of watching Borderlands again is to see all the little editing fuck ups that they just said to hell with it and left it in. Have you seen they left an Axe body spray in Bobby Lee's scene like front and center. The scene where they lift up the hatch and all the characters are around it. You can literally see a dude with a COVID mask who's a crew member like holding the fucking thing up. It's in the trailer too.
It's amazing.
It's one of those things where I'm like, did they just say fuck it, leave it in? Maybe somebody will laugh at this. Like, it's crazy.
Probably. Maybe they intended to like
Think so.
CGI that guy out later, but then they stopped caring about the movie, so they never went back and
It'll
did
cost
it.
another $10. Just render.
Gray, what is your third worst film of 2020?
So number 3 worst of 2024 for me, that would be Rebel Moon Part 2 : The Scargiver.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I don't hate Zack Snyder films, but I'm starting to, especially with this. It's tough, man. For supposedly like his take on the Star Wars type universe, I don't know. These two films are so muddled, and there is now a director's cut version of each of them that just came out. I do need to see those because, apparently that might have been his truest vision so far, but
Never heard that.
I don't know. It's just not it's just not a good idea when you have a giant script that's way too long and you decide, okay, I'm just going to cut it in half instead of rework it into like 3-act arcs. But I don't know. It felt like a good third of this movie was just looking at wheat and then shots of wheat and then, okay, let's go ahead and harvest it. I don't know what this movie, I don't know why it exists. The first one at least kind of had like an, whatever you want to call that, like an RPG feel to it. We're going to get this character from this land. This, I don't know what the hell it was. And then the whole physics just goes out the window at the whole end where they're falling for like a good 5 minutes, but it takes them like 2 seconds to get out on their ship, which is in the same hangar that's like upside down. It doesn't make it. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it, but hey, this is only part 1. So we got 2 more parts, which means 4 more movies sometime in the future.
You said part 2.
Yeah,
this
part
is
1 and part 2 together
part 1,
is
part 2.
one.
Oh
It's like
my
one
God.
act of what he has planned.
I always want to love
good times.
Zach, but it's hard sometimes.
I mean, he chose, I don't know. The wheat looks cool. Good for him. It is the most glorious I have seen wheat look on film, but
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
From what I understand, which I haven't seen any of the parts, is the director's cut isn't that
Do
much
yourself
of
a
an improvement.
favor. People's heads explode. So I haven't watched all of it. There might be more to that. I hear the nudity gets ramped up in the creepiness as
That's
well.
the one thing I saw was nudity. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Another reason to devote 3 hours to something. Tits.
For sure.
Cody, what do you got for third worst of the year for you?
The third worst of the year for me is a movie I saw at the Overlook Film Festival, and it's called Blackout. And it is a werewolf film. I have never seen any of this guy's movies, but apparently he is like a darling in the horror community for an actor, writer, and director. Larry Fessenden. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. But this is a movie that sounded interesting just because it was a werewolf flick. So you go in to watch it, and it's... I mean, you have an hour of this guy who clearly is a werewolf, and he has segregated himself from his hometown to like figure out what to do with this problem. And so the first hour of the film is just him finally going back to this town and going to different people, and they're like, "Hey, where have you been? You know, it's been a while." And he's like, "Well, yeah, you know, I've been trying to work on some stuff." And then they have a little 5-minute conversation, and then he moves to the next person. "Hey, where have you been?" "Well, you know, I've been working on some stuff privately." And then they have a little 5-minute, and it's just that for about an hour with one werewolf kill in it. I kind of like the fact that the werewolf design harkens back to like Universal Monster Werewolf, where it's mostly man with wolf features instead of everything post American Werewolf in London, where it's full on beast. But then you get into the third act, and it's just the attempts at humor are not good. There's things where it feels like they're trying to say something, and you just sit there puzzled. Like, I don't know if that was just totally ham-fisted or what. Like, you have him in a room with a guy who's helping him out, who's a black guy, and as soon as the cops get there, they don't shoot the werewolf, they shoot the black guy. And it's like,
makes sense.
It's not for a comedic moment, it's not for like a social commentary. It just happens, and you're like, this doesn't add up. And there's so many things where there's a scene where they have the werewolf in this jail cell. They have him chained to these bars, and the whole town is there. They see him turn into a werewolf. And they're like, "Holy shit, this is real!" And then the very next scene, it cuts to them all walking out of the jail, and nobody's panicked. Like, they walk out like a concert just got let out. And it's weird stuff like that, where, I mean, for a movie that is so, it's a low budget film that I hate to pick on, but it's the worst film I've ever seen at a film festival.
So for everyone to get a relative understanding, you've seen the most, and how many movies do you think you've seen in 2024 so far?
Over 60. I think I'm at 61 or 62 right now.
So third worst out of 60 movies. It's you can do worse.
Well, we watched the whole thing, and me and Sean literally turned to each other, and I was like, "Did you like that at all?" And he goes, "No." So even Sean has echoed my sentiments, where it's I wish I liked it. And so apparently this guy's got some movies that people love, and it sucks that this was my first impression of him, because I just did not enjoy it at all.
That's funny. Thank you. I feel that way about Ty West in everything but X and Pearl. But my third least favorite film of 2024 so far is Night Swim, which is I think it's the first horror film release of January.
Yeah, it was.
It deserves that title. It is perfectly comfortable in that spot. Something I cannot stand more than something being bad is something being boring. Just absolutely boring. And Night Swim, there's elements to it that I kind of wish it's almost like a cock tease, because the things that I thought were going to go somewhere were just they're just presented there, and there's nothing done with it. And I feel angry because I thought something extra was going to happen with some of these things, like his cane was red, and I thought maybe that was some sort of something special, and it just turns out that it's just a really shitty pool movie. And it if you're surprised by something that was released January 6th or whatever, I'd love to see what your movie watching schedule is like. But it's, again, the fact that nothing really happens, and it's just so, that is part of the problem for me. There's movies I've seen that I've probably felt are worse, but at least the worse is it's got something to it where I have some sort of redeeming quality to it. This was just boring. Just I didn't care. I didn't care during the movie. Nothing was really affected. When the resolution happened, I was just like, oh, okay, great. And that is Night Swim. You can do worse. I'm certain of it, but don't expect it to do something great for you. That's what I would say.
I agree with everything you said about Night Swim, and I have 6 films that are worse than it. So that tells you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going back to Cody's list is a bit more fuller than the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay, you have your second least favorite film of 2024.
Excuse me. Yeah, And it's one we've talked about on here before. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Ooh.
Kind of the opposite of what Cody said about Blackout, or someone said that I feel bad going after a small budget film. This is a small budget film, but I really don't feel bad going after it, man. I really, I would say this is honestly worse than the first one because from a technical standpoint,
But the
they
budget
did make
was bigger.
they made a lot of improvements. Like the camera, I think is better and some better camera work. There was a couple of shots in
The
the Bloody Honey
costumes were
2.
certainly better.
Yeah, all that stuff was better. But then there's like, I don't even know where to begin. Like Tigger was obviously added in as like a post, like they're doing post production. Like, yeah, let's just add in Tigger because he's so disconnected from everything else, and he won't stop saying bitch. So it's just this weird Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff. And then like the thing that actually this is the thing that really annoyed me about this movie. They conceived for themselves the perfect way to go like, oh, Blood and Honey 1 was terrible. Let's just pretend and none of that matters and just start over again with part 2. And they somehow make a movie that has even less to do with Winnie the Pooh than the first one did. Yeah, there's more characters from the story in it, but like the first one is abstent. At the end of the day, it's about Winnie the Pooh and Piglet murdering everybody because Christopher Robin goes off to college. That is Winnie the Pooh. They don't do anything with it. They completely waste it. It's a shit movie, but they at least use something inherent to Winnie the Pooh. And in part 2, they just kind of make up their own bullshit, and it's even less. Sorry, go ahead.
In defense of this movie,
Yeah. Careful with that.
Okay.
knowing how we all feel about it,
Yeah,
the original, why would you want them to go further on something that was on a lot of people's
Because
worst
the
list?
budget was increased.
Well, fair enough. Sure. But I would at least give them credit for, just saying, okay, that didn't work. Let's do something else.
I don't want to argue for a world where I get more of Blood and Honey 2, but if you're going to tease me with we're trying again with a different backstory, at least, I don't know, tie it more into Winnie the Pooh, I guess.
I like the movie within a movie thing. That was...
Oh, I know. It's interesting, but like at the end of the day, like, well, why is Winnie a killer in this one? Because he just looks different? Because he feels bad about the fact that he's an ugly yellow man who looks like a bear, kind of. That's why he's a killer in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. At least there's like a reason in the first. It's not a good one, but there's a reason.
Well, the story of the first film is still canon, but the movie that we watched is just like the shitty movie dramatization of what actually happened. So they keep the story intact, but they kind of excuse away in a funny way. Like, yeah, that movie you watched, that's like something that some low budget horror film guy just threw together about this tragedy in the 100 Acre Woods.
Oh, is that what it was? I haven't thought about this movie since I saw it. It's a little detail like that escaping. I apologize. Go ahead.
My thoughts on the original are no secret, to say the least. But the fact that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 is not even in my bottom 10.
Wow.
I thought it was a sizable improvement, but I was still disappointed I couldn't even... I still had to ultimately go negative on it in my review, because as much as they seem to have more fun with it, they still needed to have more fun with it.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it was still so dead serious and trying to be like kind of dark and grim and just not lean fully into the silliness. It was just like, come on, you're almost there.
Cody, why don't you show us that brand new Lexus you have in your garage? Thanks to... I'm joking.
Look, if those guys had Lexus money, the movie would have looked better. Okay.
Yeah. So that was Lindsay's number 2 worst. Gray, what do you have on the second worst of the year?
Yeah, so many arguments could be made that this should be number 1, but for me, I feel like there was a worse movie for me in 2024. So yeah, the one that I'm not sure exactly why it was made, if it is a licensing thing, but yeah, the incredibly well acted and well directed Madam Web. I had to kind of look back on this because I wasn't sure, was that the end of 2023? But no, that was 2024.
Yep.
Yeah. How time flies. But yeah, I think I had the least enjoyment of any superhero with web slinging abilities movie as I did in this one. I don't know. I think some of it is intentional, but it's hard to say. Just man, there's so many things that are unjustifiable that happen in this movie. Not the least of which are like the entire end set piece with the giant Pepsi sign. Just yeah, and then any of the Amazon stuff, and just oh man, the amount of like overdubs that just ADR lines that just weren't there initially. I don't.
Everything the villain
Does the
says in the
villain-
whole movie.
I was gonna say, does the villain talk normally once, or does he just dub the
No.
entire time?
I don't think he has a
Um,
single line that's not dubbed.
Yeah, it is.
Full disclosure, this is
Isn't-
my number 2 as well.
Mine as well.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
All right.
Well, would one of you guys like to take it away? I feel like I've stabbed at it, but there's so much more to stab. Please.
I feel like it's just things happening in a movie, and none of it really connects. None of it. I mean, listen, it's about spider people and aging and all this other weird shit. But there are so many moments in that movie where it's like suspending disbelief is asking quite a bit, even in a universe like this, where she takes the teenage girls out to the woods, and then there's this diner like nearby, and they're in there and
Playing Britney Spears.
yeah, like
I mean,
hey,
toxic.
What? Nothing about the movie connected well. Nothing made sense. And they have things that like play out in the universe of Spider-Man that would. I don't know if it's worse to me that they didn't really focus on an element of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, or if they just kind of made it seem like this thing that.
Did they ever say the name Peter?
No.
Or did they always
No.
were about
They-
to and then stopped, right?
Yeah, they dick tease it
Yeah.
like 3 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Do you
like,
know Ben Parker's there? Uncle Ben.
But like if you're going to do that, why do I give a shit about this pregnant woman? Like because it doesn't have an effect on the movie that they showed us.
For me, this is the no excuses movie at the bottom for me. Like, you're a major studio, you have major backing. I think they had like $100 million budget, maybe more than that. Like, why? I had a worse time with the film in 2024, which is why it's not my worst. But like, if just on principle, it feels like it should be, because it's like every other film I'm going to talk about is working with about 1/10 of what you had. And yeah, this first of all, this Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man thing has just been dead on arrival since beginning. Like, I had some fun with the first Venom. I haven't watched it since theaters though, so I don't know what that says, but did not like the second one, did not like Morbius, really did not like this one, could give a fuck about Craven, or even Venom 3, honestly. But yeah, I mean, this is something where it's like you're taking like a C-list Spider-Man character that most people have no fucking idea who this person is, and trying to force a story out of it. And you can just watch this and see that they had like 4 different versions of this movie. Like, they had one where Madam Web was it was an origin story. Then you have one that's like the evil Spider-Man, and then you have one that's about these Spider Girls. And then you have one that's about Aunt May. Like, the initial concept of the movie supposedly was like a Final Destination thing where she's supposed to protect.
Which could be so cool.
She's supposed to protect Peter Parker's mother until he gets born. Like, that could have been fucking cool.
Superhero Final Destination sounds amazing. Like, that's kind of what I was sold on this. That is not what we got.
And like, they advertise this movie by the time it comes out, and it's just all they're focusing on is all of the Spider Girls, the Sydney Sweeney Spider-Man, and the other one, and like all these cool poses, like they're teasing this big badass movie, and it's like, that's one fucking scene, and it's like a premonition. And so as soon as he does that in the premonition in the first 8 minutes of the movie, it's like, wow, that's probably going to be the only time we see that. And it is. And
I think there was another premonition, but yeah, pretty much.
and the fact that like we just talked about, they keep like dick teasing the Peter Parker reveal as if anybody watching this movie doesn't know who this is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even remember exactly the ways that they do it, but like, there's one where she's talking to Uncle Ben, and he's like, yeah, you know, I went on a date with this girl, and you know, I think things are really going to work out. And she's like, oh, what's her name? And he's like, and just turns back. She's like, oh, you're not going to tell me. And I'm like, fuck you. Like, anybody, like, oh my God, he's going to say May. And then we get the baby shower scene, and they do the same thing. Like, what do you think the baby's going to name? I don't know. You know, I thought a good name is like, oh, sorry, the phone's ringing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell happened, but like, there's like 4 times where it does that. And then, yeah, that third act, I don't know what badass shit they maybe thought that they had, where it's just her standing with like wind,
with
and she's
Pepsi.
like, "Stop!" and something falls. Okay, now run. You go left, and oh, it's so bad.
Wait, you didn't like the moment where she went from 1 Dakota Johnson to like 4 Dakota Johnsons so she could
Or
save everyone?
my favorite part. So they have, before anything even happens, you've got Madam Web's mother with the guy that becomes the villain, and it's like, yeah, we've been spending like 3 years in this jungle looking for this one spider. We haven't found him yet. All right, well, I'm gonna go get lunch, and he walks like 10 feet away, and she's like, I got it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what you're missing there is she did that every day at lunch. So theoretically,
Madam Web goes back and she finds the fucking photo album that's like her mom and some trees. And then she goes into the fucking Amazon and finds exactly where those trees are. And as soon as she gets there, the spider people come down. We've been waiting for you. What the fuck?
And she had the picture. It makes sense.
But that's like, she also looks for the picture out of nowhere. Like, oh yeah, let me look for this book 25
Let me go
years
home.
later.
I got to figure some shit out.
I'll leave those kids at the diner because fuck them.
The only entertainment value you can have with this film is like roasting it, which that can be fun. Like, we're having fun with it right now. That's why it's like, I'm like, I can't say it's number one because there's another movie that I just hated watching. But God, you look at movies like this and it's like, you had how much fucking money? And then and they made $100 million at the box office, which is even more depressing. Like, they're going to lose money, but you look at something like Cuckoo that made $3 million, and I'm like, what the fuck? Give them that 100.
This
they deserve
is just carryover, man. They're just keeping that licensing. Like, okay, another couple of years of Spider-Man licensing. Here you go. Here's Absolute Drek.
Yeah.
I think that's really it. That's the sum of. I'm sorry, Greg.
They'll probably get Craven right though, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, I just yeah. Can't go wrong with Craven.
So a lot of us had the same number 2 worst. Lindsay, this would now be your worst film of 2024.
And I think I actually just made a quick change because I think because I remembered a movie came out and I remember how viscerally angry the movie made me, and also I think I think Charles, you're gonna talk about the movie that was in my first place, so we might as well branch out and have a little more to talk about.
Sure.
So I'm gonna put my worst movie of the year as The Watchers.
Whoa.
Shauna Shyamalan's movie. I did not. Go ahead.
I said, was it?
Was it? Okay, so like, where to begin on this one? The entire intro annoyed the hell out of me. Like the first 10 to 15 minutes, because again, it's just like with Borderlands, it's just pointless voiceover. But this time, it's like voiceover for things that we can see on screen. You don't need to be speaking these things out loud. And while, these are scenes with the best character in the movie, a bird, just like 15 minutes of this woman just talking to herself just drove me up the wall. And then we get into the heart of the movie, into the mystery of it, about these people that are trapped in this place and they can't leave because every night these like crazy creatures come out of the woods and they just torture them, and if they're not in the torture chamber they'll just kill them or whatever. And just nothing works. Like it's implied that these people have been in here for years, at least one of them has. But first of all, like, where are you going to get all the food and the supplies and everything in order to do that? The clothes, these people are going to smell so disgusting and be so rancid and underfed and undernourished. They're basically going to be animals at that point. And then there's like all these big reveal secrets of, oh, we moved the carpet finally. Hey, look, there was something under the carpet. Like, but you're also drawing a map.
Would you have moved the carpet? I don't generally interior decorate when I'm like in a hostage situation, but I don't know.
That's fair. That's actually a very good point. But in this movie, they're interior decorating because they're drawing a map on the floor. And then the entire time they're drawing a map on this floor, they never move that carpet. And then like once you get down there and what's underneath the carpet, they learned the way to get out of this scenario, but they also learned that, spoilers, I don't give a fuck, sorry, but they also learned that one of these characters knows how to get out and has known how to get out for years, and she just hasn't. So the entire movie is forced and dumb, and then the last 40 minutes are your usual, and last 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, are your usual M. Night Shyamalan schlock of over-explaining everything and have it all be about spirituality and forgiveness and all that rigmarole. And I'm not hating on, I've liked that in other movies, but in this movie, man, it just did not work for me. It just angered and annoyed me.
Okay, but Darwin though, that was a pretty good parrot performance.
Oh, best bird in cinema. Top 3 birds at least. I don't know other birds in cinema.
I don't know. I'll probably forget in 5 minutes. I haven't seen this yet. I watched one Shyamalan movie this year, and it was not this. But Gray, what do you have for your worst film of 2024?
Yeah, so I had to think back if this one was actually 2024, but it was a February release, and so they put the good ones in February. But I don't know, when you tell me who's directing this, and you tell me it's going to have a whole bunch of names that I thoroughly enjoy, like we got Bryan Cranston in this, we've got Henry Cavill, we've got Sam Rockwell, Bryce Dallas Howard. It feels like this could be a really amazing movie. And then, you've got some other actors that are kind of fun in there. John Cena. For some reason, Dua Lipa. I don't know why she's in there, but she is. I don't know. And it's directed by Matthew Vaughn. It feels like Argyle could be amazing. And then you hear that Sam Rockwell is going to do some dancing fight scenes in there. It's like, okay, this could be amazing. And I have not viscerally hated a movie while watching it so much as this is the only one that I've done that with this year. I have no desire to rewatch this thing, but man, there's so many misfires in this. There's just so much opportunity for humor, and I feel like they miss every single beat that they could have. I feel like there's so much opportunity for action, and yet it again feels like they miss every single beat. And then there's this kind of fun twist that it could work, but the way that they try and pay it off, it does not work in any way for me. Just everything about this kind of fires on the wrong cylinders for me. I don't know why. I really like Matthew Vaughn, but man, this is just, for me, his worst film. And as fun as it is to watch Sam Rockwell, just every other aspect of this just really takes it down for me. Yeah, I forgot most of this until I kind of went back to IMDb, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot how much I hated every part of this. I wanted to like this movie so much, and I was really hyped for it. I thought it was weird it was getting a February release. I now know why. It's not great, but the cat actor, it was pretty good. I like the cat.
Indeed. I was in the UK when that came out. I think we had it a little early, and I remember after it being out for 2 or 3 days, which was probably a week before the States got it, nobody was talking about it. It didn't even register on their morning news show. And I was like, oh, I had the chance to watch it early, and I don't think I really care to. And I saved it for something and ended up watching it maybe April or something. And it's bad. I don't know, between Matthew Vaughn and what's his name? Covenant.
Ridley Scott.
Who? No. Fuck, I forgot his name. Directed Sherlock Holmes.
Shit. Guy Ritchie.
Yeah,
Guy Ritchie. Between the two of them,
Thank you.
I'm getting lost with them every now and again because they're both releasing something every year, and both of them every year they're releasing one each, and
Richie is doing, I think he's got 5 this year or something like that.
Right. Right. So again, I just know that they're two British directors. And while I was in the UK, I'm like, oh, okay, this thing on top of everything else. And I just didn't put my finger on who it was that was directing it. And it's so glossy and shiny. And like you said, Gray, the fact that the comedy, I don't know, I don't want to say it doesn't get attempted. It doesn't work. I don't know. Jessica Chastain too didn't really do much for me, and it's just unfortunate because it's really hokey and not enjoyable in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I actually skipped Argyle. I love Matthew Vaughn, and I didn't want to see a bad Matthew Vaughn movie, so I just kind of decided.
Probably wise.
Yeah.
How many Kingsmans
3.
has he been behind?
He did 2.
He directed all 3?
All 3.
He directed all 3? Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
thought he did that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Why
The
did he
second
not
one,
direct Kick-Ass 2? I'm still
Very good question.
burned about that.
Yeah, very, very confusing.
Yeah.
it's weird what movies he decides to stick with the franchise and which ones he doesn't. Because like he had Kick-Ass, and then he's like, nah, I don't want to do any more of those, or whatever happened. You know, maybe there was something else to it, but he doesn't stick around for that. And then he does X-Men First Class, and everybody's like, ooh. And then as much as I love Days of Future Past, and I think Bryan Singer does awesome with it, doesn't stick around for that one. Kingsman, he sticks around arguably too long.
Yeah, I don't like the one even.
You know. Yeah, I haven't seen this one. It was a really busy weekend. It was one of the only big new releases I missed out on, and everybody was just laying into it. So I was like, not a priority. Maybe I'll see it by December.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's on Apple Plus. I think it's free if you have Apple Plus. So there's a reason to watch if you have Apple Plus, but no other reason, in my opinion. Cody, what is
some shots look kind of cool. I do want to give Matthew Vaughn that. Like, there is like this smoke dance fight scene. If you're not concerned with like, you know, any sort of like reality, it looks cool. He really films it well.
He's a very proficient filmmaker, and Sam Rockwell, the guy just oozes charisma. Even with this movie, it's just like, I really want to like this movie, but it's rough.
It is.
And yes, I realize that's not Jessica Chastain. There's a joke about the two of them looking very similar. Cody, your least favorite of the year thus far?
Tarot.
Ooh.
Oh, hell yeah.
Ooh, I did not anticipate that.
Yeah.
I hated this movie.
Oh, let me have it. Lay it on me.
I mean, for my bottom 10 is plagued full of horror films this year. And for as much as Night Swim was just flatline, as much as Imaginary with flatline, as much as Strangers Chapter 1 just insults you as a human being, as much as Blackout, I was like, what the hell is this? Tarot just has nothing of value. Absolutely nothing. At least Night Swim had a decent enough little premise that could have been cool. At least Imaginary, if they had more money, if Blumhouse decided to give them more than $5, they could have done something interesting. The Strangers might build up to something interesting in the next few, but Tarot is like the 17th movie of the last decade where stupid teenagers accidentally curse themselves and they die one by one off screen because it's PG-13 and we want a little more money. And so all the characters, you're like, I could not tell you one thing about them after leaving the theater. All of the concept about the different tarot monsters coming out after them could have been cool, but they don't commit with the kills. And that was the one thing where, like, 10 minutes into this movie, I was like, it's exactly what I feared it was going to be. Hopefully the kills are cool, though. All off screen, or you hear a scream and there's like a blood splatter on a wall or something. And I'm fucking over those movies. Like, Tarot is this year's The Bye-Bye Man. It's the same shit with a couple of pieces moved around. And yeah, I mean, it was one where I was sitting there and like I've only walked out of 2 movies my entire life, and both times was kind of not really my choice. It was the person I was with. If I did not have a YouTube channel, I would have left and got my money back, because I was just at this point I was done. After Night Swim, Imaginary Strangers, and something, I was just like, I'm fucking done. I can't deal with another one of these goddamn horror films.
Are they all around the same time? They do sound like they were.
Night Swim and Imaginary were within a month of each other. Then Strangers was right after that, and Tarot was right after that. I mean, yeah. Aside from Abigail, it was like, oh, we're fucked this year on horror. This is bad. Well, and luckily, it turned around since. But yeah, there was first quarter of 2024 was rough.
January, February. No matter what happens over the course of the year, January is usually shitty horror. February used to be, but it's kind of returning to that. But yeah, if you go to something in January and get pleasantly surprised, it should move up 15 points for you, because even the studios are like, no, January 1st, put it out for the first week of January.
Yeah,
this
wasn't January, but it didn't get near the marketing of Night Swim and Imaginary, because it's not a Blumhouse film, but it was one of those movies where I knew when I bought the ticket, I was like, this is probably going to suck, but you never know. Maybe that sometimes there's little surprises, and just everything that happens here, it's just like, I've seen this 17 times. I mean, you got the one character, I don't believe in this curse, even though 3 people died violently in our group in weird ways. Like, fuck this, and then he's the next one to die. You got the person where, like, they find an article like, oh, this happened to somebody back in '85, and here's a picture of her. We got to go to their house, and they're a weird fucking hermit. and they're like, get off my lawn, I'm not gonna help you kids, and then they get an attack of conscience, so then in the third act they show up, never mind, fuck it, I'm gonna help you kids, and then they get killed. It's like, yeah, it's Bye Bye Man. It's Bye Bye Man with a new skin.
Yeah, they have one of those every year, it seems.
Yes.
The thing about the Tarot that really bugged me was in the first like 5 minutes, there's a montage, and it's like, it's not great, but it's a kind of fun. It's moving at a good clip. It shows a little bit of personality. So I'm like, oh, maybe this movie will be okay. Complete nosedive after that. Like it had me for a moment. I was gonna give it a chance and really go with it, and then it just completely just turned into.
And they have one character, like the way the curse works is whatever tarot card you pulled, like that's the fate that's coming after you, and you can't stop it. Proven by everybody else that gets killed in the film. And they cut away before a dude gets killed about halfway through the film, like all the other kills, so you don't really notice it. And then this character comes back at the end. He's like, oh yeah, I totally escaped. And you're like, fuck you. You escaped because you're in Spider-Man, bitch. Get out of here. I like that guy, by the way. I don't mean to call him bitch. He's a good actor from everything except this movie. But
he's great.
Character, I'm calling
characters. Come on.
Yeah.
You can handle
He was
it.
the best part of Tarot too. Let's be honest.
I almost ran into him at Universal last October. We were doing Halloween Horror Nights, and all of a sudden there was like a commotion behind us. And we're like, what the fuck? And then I look, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the Genki character.
Dale, $2 super chat. Cheers, guys. Cheers to you, Dale. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
So we'll get to
Awesome.
my last worst favorite, least favorite of 2024 thus far.
In Bruges.
And I does that count? Because I can put that in now. It is something I just recently watched that I had no plan on watching.
You're welcome.
And there's a recorded review and everything, produced sort of. It is The Mousetrap, otherwise known as Mickey's Mousetrap. At least have your face on the screen if you can do the audio stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry. If we're going to give shit to things like Winnie the Pooh, it's time to take your medicine, The Mousetrap, because if you want to ride that marketing train behind having the licensing behind, technically it's only Steamboat Willie, not Mickey, because it used to be called Mickey's Mousetrap and now it's just The Mousetrap. I'm sorry, take your medicine. If you want the popularity, you got to take your medicine. This movie's awful, just outright terrible. There's nothing about this. Again, I said this in my review. It's up as of a couple of days ago. Winnie the Pooh, at least the first 2 minutes of the first one, was really creative, something neat and like fucking awesome. This is just like, how do we shoehorn the fucking license that we sort of have public access to now and not really give too much of a shit about anything? And it's them watching a movie that has Steamboat Willie in it, and then somebody spills their drink on a plug while watching a print in their theater room, which I don't even know if we know that that's at the place where he was working or that was his house, or don't wait for establishing shots in this movie other than the weird happy face thing outside the amusement place. I don't know. I guess they wanted to feature that a couple times because there were no establishing shots, but the front of this arcade place got a couple of shots, but they didn't explain anything. The acting, I'm sorry. Nobody really understood that they were going to have extra attention on them, even though they were chasing this Mickey Mouse thing. There are times where I feel like I wouldn't be able to handle releasing something to the public because what people would think, and then I see stuff like this where it's like, please tell me they don't think about other people watching it because of the fact that they're using the Steamboat Willie thing, because I would assume that somebody would, I don't know, try harder or have something focused on, you're getting extra people to watch your thing because of the little shortcut you've taken. Give them a reason to be like, oh, let me see what else this person does in the future. And I really hope that wasn't the case here, because if somebody's trying to show something off about their filmmaking prowess, somebody needs to tell you to go back to the drawing board, because nothing works in this movie. Nothing.
the Steamboat Willie variation of Mickey Mouse went into public domain at 12 a.m. January 1st.
Mhm.
By 12 p.m. January 1st, we had a poster and a trailer. That's the review.
Yep.
That's the review.
Yeah. They had it announced and something teased the same day that the licensing turned over. That is awful. Go ahead.
My TLDR review for this movie is the opening, and you can't really skip this. It's part of the movie.
Oh.
Is a Star Wars intro crawl describing how this movie has nothing to do with Disney or Star Wars or anything, and it feels like. Did you guys ever see the Family Guy Star Wars episodes? Yes. This thing was written in the same style and comedy as that. And then to go from this weird Star Wars parody that's calling out Disney's copyright insanity to a horror movie is one of the weirdest tonal whiplashes I think I've ever experienced in my life, because the movie's not really supposed to be a comedy in any way, shape, or form, right?
Apparently it is.
I don't think they were taking it seriously.
I mean, I guess I never really felt the impulse to laugh, or like they were trying to make me laugh.
It was very meta. Like there are lines.
That's true. They did, yeah.
There are lines in this movie that feel like just if you typed in through AI, change this line from Scream, change this line from this movie, and that's kind of what it sounds like. Change this line from Avengers. All of this is crazy. I've got a bow and arrow and all that shit. They do that with it's Mickey Mouse and he's teleporting. None of this is realistic, and it's just like, man, I feel like I've heard that just a little bit differently in the past.
Yeah, but if you lampshade it, then it makes sense. It's all good.
Yeah, we know how silly this is. See, here's lines to state that. No, I'm sorry. If you're going to be that dependent on your sharp humor, you better have someone that you trust to deliver that line, and it's just people reading lines. Nothing feels like how human beings react with one another. Ice Cold Juice gifted a membership. Thank you for that. Vincent Martin has benefited from that. Right on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sean,
Congrats, Vin, and that's awesome. Ice Cold Juice.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you so much. And Sean with the €1 with nothing to it. But thank you for that. Absolutely. Did we all got our ones out, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So we can go to surprises. I guess we'll stick with the negative theme. And I guess that would be Lindsay. Lindsay, what is your negative surprise of the year?
I misunderstood the assignment. So a surprise. Jerk. No. So something that I thought I would like and I ended up hating.
Yeah, disappointment. Disappointment. It doesn't have to be the worst. Just something like you were like, oh, I was expecting this to be okay, and it didn't do that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Ray, do you have one?
Come back to me. Come back to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Do me.
Yeah. I'll do the professional here.
We got Cody.
Are we doing just one?
We'll go around the horn, and then if there's more to talk about, we'll do it.
Well, I mean, Gray pretty much covered one of mine, Rebel Moon. I don't have much else to say. It's just as somebody who is a Zack Snyder fan and has liked most of his films, it's getting very hard to maintain being that, because I'm just kind of over the I need 6 hours and 3 cuts to tell a story bullshit. Ghostbusters: The Frozen Empire was a massive kick to the nuts for me because I loved the last one, and this one just didn't do it for me. One that I was really hoping was going to be like my indie darling, my little smaller film of the year, The Bike Riders. Dead on Arrival. I mean, very boring movie to me. So that one felt like, how can you fuck this up for me? This is my type of thing. And
I only just watched that this past week.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. It's not bad. It's not anywhere near the bottom, but it's a movie that I would have assumed like, easy top 5. Tom Hardy and Austin Butler, hot off of the last 2 movies he's doing, and like a Sons of Anarchy kind of movie, and it's just a biker club hangout movie that was advertised as Goodfellas on bikes.
It's a shame because that actress did phenomenal work there. She just felt like out of place during that entire movie.
Yeah, but my number 1 of the year is Trap. For as much as I said Bike Riders should be an easy win for me, like M. Night Shyamalan, that premise with Josh Hartnett coming back to do the I think the first leading role he's had in a while, unless I'm missing something. But I've always loved that guy, and always thought that he was like this untapped commodity in Hollywood. I was like, yes, this is going to be great, and it's not. You know, it's a movie that I wish I could love, but no. And you know, it was funny. I watched last night. I think it was either, I forget the YouTube channel, but it's the one where they have like directors and actors like go over their filmography. I don't know if it's Vanity Fair or something like that. Yeah, I don't know if it was Vanity Fair or something, but it was interesting to listen to M. Night talk about all these different movies and what his approach was and his headspace was, and you know, you listen to things in Sixth Sense and Unbreakable and Signs, and then you get to these later films, and he says something in Unbreakable that feels like he still hasn't let go, which is because his first film didn't perform well, and then he had to wait 3 years to make Wide Awake, and that didn't perform well. Then he had to wait 3 years to make Sixth Sense. All of a sudden explodes. He said ever since Sixth Sense, he's felt like I've got to hurry up and make the next one because I might never be able to make a movie again. Like, strike while the iron's hot, I got to go. And it really feels like now he's in this turn and burn. Like, I got to get this out. Like, we've had 3 M. Night movies in the last 4 years. He's got 4 more in production. Trap feels like one of those movies that if he had just spent another year on it, could have been top 5 M. Night.
Maybe.
But it was like the first or second draft of like, this is a cool idea, let's make it. And no, you got to have more than a concept. And I appreciate that some people have had some silly fun with it, but that doesn't mean that the criticism of absolutely everything in this movie relies on contrivance. It doesn't mean that that's invalid. If you can look past it, and sometimes I can, awesome. I wish I could have, but this, no. Like, I have my limit. Trap is like, here.
Yeah, the people like, oh, you just don't understand it, man. I'm sorry. No, that's, if you do, what were you expecting going into that movie?
Yeah,
Because
they're like, this is that post cinema sins movie watching, and I'm like, I'm not fucking trying to look at like bloopers, like that light turn to the left in between cuts, like it's shit that just does not make sense narratively.
Yeah, it's satire. It's supposed to be satire. No, I don't think it is. And I've since I was at that screening with The Visit and literally heard M. Night speak about things that I just didn't expect the director and writer of the film to say about their characters. I was like, is he fucking around? Like, does he not understand how emotions work? Because none of this is.
Not sure he does.
And he backed into 2 hits back to back, and it was Split and well, Glass less so, but
The Visit and Split were his 2 comeback movies. Glass. Most people it didn't work for him. I'm glad it did for me, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just I have a very big question mark over M. Night's head, and Trap did not help.
And the thing about Trap, like, I like Trap more than you guys did, but the
You're a
moment they
weirdo.
leave the concert, it's so bad. The last like 20-30 minutes of that movie are so horrible. And it's the same thing with The Watchers, the movie that was supposedly directed by his daughter, but was definitely directed by him. Like, the last like 20-30 minutes are just so unbelievably just. They
He's
just
a
ruin
genius
everything.
coming up with a concept, with a premise. The execution, however, is just like the most extreme hit or miss filmmaker in my lifetime. Which makes it so frustrating because you have movies like Sixth Sense, Unbreakable Signs, and Split and Glass where I'm just like, dude, this guy's a fucking genius. And then you have other ones where it's like, how's this the same guy?
Lindsay, we might have spoken about this last week, but what do you benefit the mother and daughter that were at the concert as well, but they had like a little drama between them? Are you forgiving of that? Because it feels like it's just
Wait, what?
really big red herring. The woman and her daughter that are at the concert, that they have a fight.
There's this whole subplot built around Josh Hartnett and his daughter. There's someone else. There's someone they know at the concert, and then there's this one scene where it looks like Hartnett might like try to distract the cops by being like, this lady's yelling at me and like being really aggressive and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, so that'll be the payoff for that storyline. He'll get out of trouble by blaming the woman, But then there's literally, I mean, there's kind of I guess a joking payoff where we see like the daughter and the mom both distressed and being like, "Oh no," and we're supposed to like laugh at that. But
see, that's first act stuff. That's just like why did we have any of that?
You also get to see him jealous, like towards the end or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know,
where the daughter gets on stage and she gets all pissy about it.
Right.
But still, that's a gag. And it's
That's
like you had 4 scenes of exposition to set up a gag.
Yeah. All right, great. A negative disappointment for you, or something you expected to be good.
Yeah. So the previous film by this gentleman, I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was quite a while ago, and it was an animated release. But I don't know. When I hear the kind of characters that they're bringing into this and the actors that they're bringing into this, and the comedic mind behind it, but not only are you going to get like Christian Slater, Jim Gaffigan, Hugh Grant, a whole bunch of other interesting comedians all put into this. Just the list is like, I don't know, way too long. But it's Jerry Seinfeld's Pop-Tart movie. I really wanted to like this thing. I like his sense of humor for the most part. When I hear that it's going to be a space race movie, but it's for Pop-Tarts, like that sounds ridiculous on the face of it. And I hear that Jerry is producing and directing for the first time, but the last time he produced was B-Movie, I believe. Mm-hmm. But it just, everything about this sounded pretty good. And then even watching one of the trailers, it's like, okay, so I'm not hating Amy Schumer as much as I usually do. I really wanted to like this movie, and man, it's tough. I don't know who exactly it's for. It seems like it's a bunch of references that I get, but that's because I used to watch like really old television, like Nick at Night stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't think most of the audience is aware of Netflix or would watch it that would be aware of the references they're giving in this movie. I don't know. I really wanted to like this, and I love parodies. I think parodies should be kind of on a different scale than other ones, but
if
just the amount of surprise I got out of this.
They're parodying.
I wanted it to be.
They're parodying a 50-year-old movie that takes place 30 years before that movie took place. So you're parodying the right stuff in 2024. Mm-hmm. Like what?
And you're using like old school mascots and a bunch of like, who knows who Jack LaLanne is today? I don't know. I thought it was a really funny character. And if you kind of understand what's going on with that, like, it makes sense. And it's an interesting take on, fictionalizing these characters. But,
right. And Tom Carvel, you have to be at least 50 to know who the hell Tom Carvel is, or from the East, the Northeast, because it doesn't make any sense.
There's some kind of deep cut references, but the payoff for it just doesn't seem like it's there. I wanted to like this movie a lot more, but I got to be honest, I was thoroughly disappointed with it. And I wanted to like it. It doesn't enter my like bottom 10, I don't think. But that was one that I was really kind of looking forward to. I thought, with everybody's name that's attached to this, it's like, oh, this is going to be great. Just hearing Bill Burr is going to be JFK. Like that alone, I'm going to watch it. But
I'm going to watch that
it was
one scene.
And
move on.
It was kind of the best part. But I don't know. I think that was my biggest disappointment of the year.
It is in my bottom 5 of the year thus far. Something that I was disappointed in, that I was hoping was going to be slightly better, is Back to Black, another movie that was kind of pumped up while I was in the UK because local talent. I'm sorry, if you're going to do an Amy Winehouse movie, you better at least match that documentary that came out in 16 or something. And this movie doesn't really do that. And I think the big issue is I hate finding out who the producer is from how kind they were to a person in the movie, because it's really, they telegraph this stuff more and more. And if you think that Queen was treated rather kid glove-y in Bohemian Rhapsody, it's more of the same. Amy Winehouse's father feels a little, I don't know, there are things like they made a point to discuss the line where my daddy says no, my daddy says, oh, I'm okay, so I don't need to go to rehab, whatever the line is from Amy Winehouse's Rehab. It just it's not my least favorite movie of the year by any stretch. Again, the documentary is brilliant. It has ton of emotion. It's great. You have something where you can kind of dramatize things, and it's just so empty. And I don't really care about like any of the characters, and that's how the hell do you do that with the documentary but not the dramatic movie? It's really kind of frustrating for me.
That
But
is interesting.
but that's just me. Again, it's not my least favorite or anything. It's just something that I was expecting to be pretty good. Again, you could have just dramatized the documentary. It would have been a decent experience, but no, they gave you the father's version of her story, and not that great.
Yeah, I like checking out biopics of artists that I'm really not familiar with. I always find it to be interesting. But the Bob Marley one took all the energy I had for this year for biopics of people I'm not that
Really?
familiar with. So I didn't see
wow.
this one. I don't know anything about Amy Winehouse, so I wasn't sure. And after it came out and most people echoed what you said, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, watch the documentary. It's a better time, and you'll learn more about her. It's way more tragic, and that's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Lindsay, you ready?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like there's been a lot of bad movies this year, but
Of course.
basically everything is kind of the things I thought I would like. I usually ended up liking, and the things I didn't think I would like, I usually didn't like. But there was one exception, one that really let me down. It's already been mentioned, but you might as well just do it again. Frozen Empire, Ghostbusters.
Wow.
I did rather like Afterlife until all the member berries started happening kind of towards like the end of the movie, because I liked the kids, I liked their story, I liked this family kind of picking up the remains of their life and trying to start something new, and in the process of doing that kind of backdooring themselves into being Ghostbusters. That was kind of cool. But then the movie towards the end, it stops being about them and it starts being about the old characters. And so I was hoping that Frozen Empire wouldn't do that again, and it would just focus on the new characters, and it wouldn't spend so much time doing member berries. And it did the exact opposite. And on top of that, it just keeps adding more and more and more characters. Like this, the size of the cast in this movie is daunting, and so few of the characters like actually contribute anything of like value or like just purpose. Like so many characters could just be very easily pulled out of this movie, and I'm worried that if they do a third one, they're just gonna go even harder on the member berries and just add even more characters, so that it's just not possible to care about anyone or anything.
It's weird because it's a franchise where you can have somebody die and not really be the end of that character. You can have, I mean, you've
Yeah.
already had people who are ghosts.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of stakes and something where you don't necessarily have to kill them off. You could have somebody who dies and becomes a ghost, and you kind of shove them to the side and bring them back if you need them, or have that be a story thing where they, I don't know.
No, 100%. A friendly ghost. Put a Casper in goddamn Ghostbusters. I'm down.
Yeah, just
And they
just
kinda
trim that.
did.
It's chest playing.
Well, that was the thing. I know it's easy to meme on that scene, but I did kind of like. I liked them as friends. It kind of worked. I thought their scenes were kind of cute.
Yeah,
But then
woke
she's-
shit.
I don't know. But it ultimately didn't go anywhere, and there was just too many characters. So it just
Yeah.
It felt like it could have been something really interesting to have a character that actually challenges their attitude towards ghosts. Like, this is
Yeah.
something that we have to dispense of. And now you have one that's like, oh, they're still a person. They're not all
Right.
Slimers. They're not all the fucking dragons and shit like that. And so that could have been interesting, but it goes nowhere. It just there's 4 movies worth of shit in this movie.
Yeah,
Seriously.
you could have had allegories for race, sexual preference. You could have had an allegory for all of that with the ghost character. This sense of other, and you're right. They don't really do that well at all. And
Well, when you think of how many characters they had to move into that, there's hardly room for that.
yeah, would they have four separate groups of 4? They had like 16 characters. That
pretty much.
it could have been a TV series, and you'd probably
Finn, we don't have anything for you this time. Just chase Slimer.
we're gonna give you this cool cheese doodle scene where you're gonna make a little.
You're in Stranger Things. Chin up.
Does anybody have any other disappointments that they wanted to bring up before we transfer over to good stuff?
Yeah, I think Matt brought up Drive-Away Dolls. I wanted better from Ethan Cohen's like solo work. I know it's supposed to be a B movie, and it really comes off like a B movie. But
You said that was Jerry Seinfeld.
fair enough. This would be the non-flying insect thing B movie. It really is supposed to play like that, and I guess if you're ranking them by those, like, okay, it is that, but man, I wanted better, especially when you see what Joel did with now I'm forgetting the Macbeth one, but yeah, I just really wanted to see more from him on his solo work. But who knows? This is going to be part of a trio, so maybe the other two in the trio will be better. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
I just, considering it took place in '99, right? The movie takes place in 1999. It takes place at the end of the '90s, and a lot of the terminology and things were odd. I didn't know Ralph Nader was that popular.
Hard accent to get over too.
Yeah, whatever. Sure. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. Yeah, Drive-Away Doll is on my lower half, if I do say so. That Trap is there too. Lindsay, do you have a positive?
Positive surprise?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got two actually here.
Okay, just give us one for now.
Let's go with the less political one. A Quiet Place. Day one. I didn't really have high hopes for it. So when I said not a lot of things surprised me, this is one of the few things that really surprised me. I loved A Quiet Place 1. I didn't think I would like A Quiet Place 2, but then I ended up kind of liking it. So I'm like, okay, they can't do that a third time. You cannot keep milking this. You can't do it. And then I sit down for A Quiet Place 3, and I'm like, okay, goddamn, I really like this movie. And we have best bird in cinema in The Watchers. We got best cat in cinema with whatever the cat's name is.
Somebody clearly hasn't had New York pizza in their life.
Also true. Oh yeah, there's also that. But honestly, I loved that subplot. I saw a lot of people bagging on it, just being also the whole movie's just about getting a piece of pizza. No, it's about the journey along the way and what the characters are going through, and the fact that this feels like the end of the world. So they just want to find one thing comfort, just one more time.
Yeah, she's dying. So it's one last thing before the world dies. Me on top of it. If you made a movie about me looking for vanilla Coke, believe it or not, it would be a lot more believable than you think.
Yeah, I liked how personal that story was. I was the same way. Like at the first 15 minutes, I was like, "Are we real? Is this really just gonna be about her getting pizza? What the fuck?" And then after a while, I'm like, if the world was ending, that's things like that I would be clinging to. Like, oh man, I got to go get one more of these. I got to, you might never have this again in your life. Like the simple things, and especially the fact that she's dying. It's a whole other layer to it. So, yeah, that was one where I actually appreciated how simple and how personal the story was versus, things that are much more like epic in movies like this traditionally.
Cody, you have a positive?
Yeah, I have a couple. So the first Omen was a massive surprise for me. I would have bet money that was going to suck. And especially the fact that I heard that it was going to be the exact same movie as Immaculate, and Immaculate came out a few weeks beforehand. I was like, well, if it was going to be enjoyable, now it's just going to feel redundant.
Oh, wow.
And then I saw it, and I was like, son of a bitch. Like, that's easily the best Omen film since the original. And it's one of the few prequels, which I'm notorious for not liking horror prequels, especially. It's one of the few horror prequels that feels like it justifies its existence. Like it actually adds something to the first film that wasn't there. So big surprise of that one. What You Wish For is a movie that technically is from last year, but it just went wide this year. It was at Fantastic Fest. I didn't get a chance to see it. Kept it in the back of my head, watched it, and without saying too much about it, it's about a guy who is a chef that goes to visit a friend of his who is a chef that cooks for a lot of like the elites of the world.
Yeah.
And crazy shit happens after that. It's a movie you want to walk into blind, but it was just a really cool, enjoyable little horror thriller that goes in some really twisted places. And the biggest surprise of the year so far for me is If, because I saw the trailers to If and I was like, no, this is stupid. Like, John Krasinski didn't want to do another A Quiet Place, and you're doing this one. Come on, man. I didn't think the jokes that they were doing was funny. Like that whole bit in the trailer where he's trying to say if and they won't let him, and then he's like,
Yeah.
Every time I saw that trailer, I was like, that's so fucking stupid. It's annoying.
5-year-olds, that kills with 5-year-olds.
Oh man, I was just like, this is not going to be good. And that even the early reactions and the first couple reviews were like, not very good. It's pretty good. It's okay. And so I took my kids to see it just to have some shit to do. And I was like shocked at how personal and emotional this movie was.
That movie
like,
slaughtered me, that movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just talking about like the growing up and the things you have to leave behind as you mature into an adult, and somehow still needing some of those comforts of your childhood every now and again. And you know, there's a plot twist in it that I saw coming from Jump Street, but still, even after it was revealed, I was like, oh fuck, oh. And so,
Cody, you have siblings, right?
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 5.
I think if you're an only child, it hits harder because, I mean, I had to have fake friends and imaginary friends and things like that. So
yeah,
the fact that it hit hard with you is quite impressive, because me, I was like, I related so much to that movie.
Yeah.
It was shocking.
My kids had fun with it, and I was sitting there like, damn, I'm getting fucked up here. Like, this is crazy. And so I was shocked how much I liked that. And I went back and kind of looked at some of the negative reviews, and I was just like, man, I don't get it. Okay. I think I was really good.
Yeah. It's in my top 5 right now.
Yeah.
Damn,
My top 10.
This. Holy shit. Okay. I think I got like It and Harold and the Purple Crayon mixed up a lot in my head.
God.
And especially now that I've seen Harold and the Purple Crayon, I can definitely differentiate the two, but I think I conflated them a bit. Like, I'm not
You
sure.
should watch If.
Yeah.
You'll
Yes.
probably like it more.
Yes.
Also, I get all 3 of you saw it and loved it. Oh, I definitely got to see it then. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it might be free to watch on Amazon Prime.
It's somewhere streaming now. Yeah.
Yes.
I
I
will
don't
find
know
it.
if it's Peacock or it's one of them's got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So check it out.
My uncle
Cool.
too.
What about your aunt? It's always your uncle. Where's your aunt at, Charles? What's going on?
Uncle Ben, he's important.
Gray, do you have a positive script? Did I ask you already?
Yeah. I do have one. So I was fully expecting to hate this, and I understand it's not a great flick, but I gotta be honest, I've been kind of comedy starved for a while. So I guess there's kind of 2 of them. I was fully expecting to hate 2 of them. They shouldn't work by any means, but I guess the little one is what is it? I guess it's Beverly Hills Cop : Axel F.
Mm-hmm.
I expected to hate that thing. It's like, Beverly Hills Cop 3 sucked. You're going back to the well, and this is, I don't know, what is it, like 10 years after that, which that seemed too late. But I was kind of surprised by it. For it being just a Netflix release, I didn't hate it. It wasn't perfect. I don't know if I'd be super happy if I saw it in theaters, but it was better than I was expecting. It surprised me. So that's kind of my little one, but the big one that like really surprised me, I just thought there's no way. When you tell me the cast of this, it's like, okay, so Zac Efron and John Cena, and then the name of it's Ricky Stenicki. I'm gonna hate this thing. I gotta be honest, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a Prime original.
That is on
like
Amazon.
Roadhouse. Yeah. So it is kind of good in the laugh department. It's been a while since I've seen kind of a raunchy comedy. This one goes there in certain ways and then holds back in other ways. It's interesting, but I fully expected to hate it, everything about it. And I gotta be honest, the last 2 Efron ones I've seen I've really kind of dug.
Iron Claw.
Now I'm blanking on it. Yes, thank you. I was going to say something Claw, but it wasn't Iron. Thank you very much. Iron Claw, he just killed it in that one for me. And then for some reason, this one, I don't hate him either. So, if you have some time to waste, it's not a bad waste of time.
Yeah. So to me, I have 2 that they're both nothing major as far as releases are concerned, and I think it kind of says something to me even more that they're digital releases, that it's something you really have to find, and the fact that these are just buried is that much more surprising to me. I'll start with the lesser. It's just 2 people. It's called Daddio. Sean Penn is a taxi cab driver, and he's driving Madam Web's own Dakota Johnson, and it is just two people, a cab driver and a woman, in traffic from JFK to the city, which too short if you ask me. Just talking, and there's times where it gets on the border of being something that feels unbelievable for people that don't really know each other that well. Never mind the fact that a white guy driving a cab in New York, sorry, that's not going to happen either, but we'll let that one go. But considering the amount of nothing that happens in the movie, you're literally just in a cab ride. You're driver, passenger, and they're just talking and like testing each other, and they like take jabs, and they're a little heavy with the joking, and this isn't a comedy. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. They just, there's a point where he says something, and she's like, I think she says "fuck you" or "fuck off" or something. It's like, all right. I would just get out of the cab at that moment, but they're pushing each other's buttons and finding out more about each other, and it's not a romance. That is something that I like, that we're getting movies. I like you brought up Frozen Empire before. Just friends. We can have relationships with people where we're just kind of talk and push each other's buttons and don't need to kiss and fuck at the end. A nice little hug, awesome. And the other movie that I just completely was surprised by, but for different reasons, because there are issues with it, and it is a film that was directed by Jennifer Esposito. It's called Fresh Kills, and the performances are spectacular in that movie. The story is a little less than strong, but the two younger female actors in this movie do phenomenal work. It is, even if you're not with the story, the fact that these performances are just so strong and so emotional, it's worth watching. And again, it's something that is just, you can watch it at home right now. It didn't really get much play, and that's why it kind of surprised me, because watching these straight to DVD VOD movies, you're like, all right, nobody cares what's going to happen, i.e. the mousetrap. But it really feels good when you watch something that is quite surprising. And I'll cheat, because this movie isn't out yet, and Cody's seen this as well. It is something that I also watched recently, and it's called Strange Darling. Ooh. And again, it's not fair because general audiences cannot see it until the end of August, but powerful stuff. Kyle Gallner is, I can't think of a movie that he was in the last 10 years or so that I was just like, oh, no thanks. And was that?
I just laughed. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'll stop.
Interrupt me.
Yeah, no more laughing. But the back and forth between the characters, there's a bit of a whodunit angle. It's told out of order, and it's quite fascinating. I owe this to you again, Cody, where you brought it up and I went into it. And Cody's been pretty perfect so far, 3 for 3. Cody brought up What You Wish For with me to me as well, and that one, oddly enough, about half an hour in, I'm like, why does he want me to see this? And then it's one of those movies where it really, the more it goes further, the more it grabs you. But yeah, that is another one that I was quite impressed with. But wait for that. I really would recommend checking that out, because I don't think it's going to get much play at the end of August. Do we have any other positives before we get to the cream of the crop?
Just to second that one, is it Fresh Kills, the Jennifer Esposito one?
Yes.
You mentioned the two performances of the daughters, but Jennifer Esposito herself as the mother is just like amazing in that. Like, I don't think you could get those characters without that pushing, that kind of forceful yet willingly blind mother. I don't know. It's just great performances all around on that one. That really surprised me too. When I read the summary on that, it's like, this doesn't really interest me, but wow, amazing performances.
Yeah. It's again, it's not a strong story, but there are so many like little parts of it that are very accurate. And if you've been around an Italian family in the tri-state area, a lot of it is just so dead on. Like the dropping change in the back seat of a car, like that is a Italian luck thing that I didn't realize somebody would. I mean, Jennifer Esposito raised Italian, so like nice little touch that most people won't even understand, and just nice little extra thing that I raised my eyebrows at. But again, the story isn't 5-star by any stretch, but surprising. So to the positives of the year, right? We did worst. Yep. So, Lindsay, what do you have? Your third best movie of 2024.
Oh, this is where it gets difficult. Like, being which one of these? I guess I'll put in third place my third favoritist film of the year. Yes, bronze, however you want to pronounce it. Fall Guy.
Ooh.
I adore Gosling. I adore. Wait, crap! What's his name? What's her name? Oh my God, Brain.
Adore her, my ass.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm straight up lying here. Yeah,
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt. Thank you. I love her. She's
I
one of my
adore her.
favorite
What's her name?
actresses. Well, look, when I propose to my wife, she's gonna have to remind me too. Like it's a whole thing. Okay. They're great. And so them together in like a romantic comedy action film was something I was super down for, because I was saying this leading up to Barbie. Gosling is hilarious. Give this man comedies. Like, I know he's handsome. I know he's a very good dramatic actor, but let him cook. Let him be funny. And this movie let him do that. And it was also just kind of a fun ride. I loved how the action scenes were handled. I adore the sequence in his house where he has to fight off guys with prop weapons and prop guns, but they don't know that he's shooting blanks at them and he uses that to his advantage. That's just fun to me. I adore that kind of stuff. It hurt my soul that it didn't perform that well, but I adore that it had legs, so people were talking about it for weeks on end. Like, you could describe parts of the filmmaking as like indulgent in a way. Like, there's that scene where Blunt and Gosling are talking to each other on the phone, and like the cuts are really direct and very intentional, as like she's on this side of the screen and he's on this side of the screen, and they're talking about the movie, but they're talking about their own relationship, and it's like, yeah, we've seen this before, and like it's a little on the nose, but it's so well done, and they're just so adorable together. You want them to just start making out with each other every time they're talking. I love this movie. I really love this movie.
Gray. Number 3.
It's a decent flick. So I kind of went with the best / the ones that affected me the most this year.
Okay.
So I don't know if this one's cheating. Technically, I think it was made in 2022.
You jerk.
It wasn't released into Mexico until January, and then it wasn't released here until I think February. No, sorry, April. So I don't know why this one stuck with me so much, but it's really simple. It basically takes place, I think there's 6 locations in total, and there's like 7 actors or something like that. Oh, wow, there's more than that listed, 27. So never mind. So it's The Coffee Table.
Wow.
I don't know why this one affected me as much as it did, but it just kind of like stuck with me. It is kind of one of those bomb in the under the table type of movies. It's just suspense the entire time. But man, even though it was in a different language, just I understood every one of the performances. I got the annoyance of the husband from the wife. I knew exactly like what type of character they all are. I feel like I knew that sales guy. Just everything about this, even the brother, hit very close to home. Like every part of this really kind of just worked for me. I don't know why, but even like a week after watching this, it was more like a month after watching this, I just happened to walk by like a broken glass table like on the side of the road, and man, it was very vivid. It just it definitely has made me think more than a lot of horror movies this year, or I guess suspense movies.
Black
I don't know.
comedy.
I guess arguable if it's horror. Yeah, dark comedy. I don't know, man. Just when I think about it, this is one of them that's really kind of stuck with me, and I could tell you nearly every scene in the movie. It's got some really, I don't know, without being too graphic, some real visceral scenes that really kind of cut deep.
Something that happens in the movie will not be for people. That's like a non-starter for a lot of people. Something tragic happens. Yeah, Cody.
Yeah.
Cody's tapping out on that before even anything else. But if you can get in that mindset, the dark humor is, when they're going back and forth, the irony about things that are underlying all of this. And there's this thing that kind of puts a bow on all of it that you don't really pay much attention to, but it comes in for the worst reason. And it's so tense. And I don't want to say you're rooting for something bad, but you can understand why people are doing certain things. And like, there are points where I'm like, oh, I'm on the edge of my seat here. I'm a terrible person. This is awful. And there were at least 3 or 4 times where I was second guessing where things could go. And some of those times it was a really, really dark place. And congratulations, movie. You got me to laugh at something that's really, really dark. Really dark.
For sure.
So my funny story with the coffee table is our buddy Rudy recommended it to me. He's like, man, like, I'm not gonna tell anything about it, but like, TikTok's been going crazy about this movie. I just watched it. Like, I want to hear what your thoughts are. I want you to do a review. A lot of people are talking about it. You get a lot of views. I'm like, okay, whatever. It played at Fantastic Fest last year, but I never heard anybody say anything about it, so we kind of skipped over it. And I can watch pretty much anything, but I have my one negative trigger that will just ruin it for me, and I'll be nauseous. Is that whatever kicks off this movie without saying too much? And so I put on this film, don't know anything about it. 9 minutes into it, I'm like,
oh no.
Hey Rudy, don't ever fucking recommend movies to me again. Like, I said it nicer than that, but I was just like, hey, like, it's not your fault. I'm not mad, but you've just ruined my night, and like, you felt bad after that. I'm like, it's fine. You didn't know, but yeah, that's gonna be a hard one for me to rank this year, because I think that there's a lot of things about it that they do really well.
Oh, you finished it?
I finished it. I already got through the worst part. I'm like, how much fucking worse can it get? But yeah, that one's just hard. Movies like that are hard, because I'll get that point and I'm just like, it's just like Speak No Evil. Like, so many things about it I think are awesome, but there's just things in it where I'm just like, I'll never be able to enjoy this movie.
Which one?
And that's always, haven't seen the new one, but
okay.
just my enjoyment factor will never get above a certain bit because of what happens, and whether that's fair or not, that's honest.
Yeah. But the fact that you wrote it out is kind of saying something, and the fact that you could still appreciate. I'm telling you, it's a big hurdle to get over for people, but if you can deal with it, it really kind of is worth it. I mean, I'm going to rearrange my list, but it was my number one. But I'll shift around for the sake of things. But yeah,
I apologize, man. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
It's all right. It's we get out of the way now, and then I have my list on standby. So
leave it to the will you like it fucker to give it the number one of the year.
Who would like that? I would.
This is awesome. Number one of the year. More movies should do this.
Christian, $10 super chat. Thank you. First of all, Charles, Cody, Ray, and Lindsay. You guys made my night. That's awesome.
Aw,
thank you.
You made ours.
Indeed. What are your thoughts on third-person premise of In a Violent Nature? Should it be a full film or just one part? Ooh.
What are they asking? Third-person premise.
Yeah, like the video game angle where you're like just behind the. You see in a Violent Nature, right? The bootleg Friday.
Oh, should they have stuck with that for the full film, or should it just been okay? I understand.
Part of it.
I mean, I think that's what makes it stand out, for better or worse. I don't think that movie has much value if you take that away from it. For some of us, it doesn't have much value even with it in there. But I liked it okay. But yeah, that's the whole gimmick of that movie. Otherwise, it's just a Jason fan film.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gray.
I think I'd be pretty much just parroting exactly what Cody said. Just it seems like that's like half the gimmick is, this time it's just that third person thing. Without that, like I don't know. I feel like we've seen that flick before. It's interesting. I think it deserves the whole flick. While I wouldn't have it on like my top list, the top of my list at all this year. I don't know. I don't hate it. I feel like they did it better than a lot of the other films that have used this kind of, you're from the perspective of the killer, so to speak. I don't know. I think it's worth the movie, but what do you think, Charles?
Little preemptive there. I as the Friday guy, it's a decent enough version of what a movie would be like a video game, because the Foley work and a lot of the audio is so abnormally pristine, and you can hear things that are happening like 20 feet down and in a door, like in a house or a room or something. The audio is very video game-y, and not even like modern video gaming. It's like video games from like 20 years ago where you could hear people talking down the block or whatever. It's just, it's odd. Why is that so crystal clear? But it's nothing new. I think the fact that it was presented in third person is worthy of an entire film. I just wish that the horror community would realize that something you've seen before but with a slight twist isn't revolutionary. And if you enjoyed it, that's awesome. Right on. Nobody's taking it away from you. It's just I don't know. I'd like a little bit more from it than just that. Lindsay, did you see In the Violent Nature?
I didn't. I'm always bad about fan films.
No, it's not a fan film.
Oh, it's not a fan film? Oh,
Cody's being a jerk.
Oh, I apologize. Okay. Then I know even less about it, so I'm going to just sit here and look pretty.
Did you give your number 3? Pretty boy?
Oh, sorry. Fall Guy.
Oh,
Fall Guy.
Gray, you gave... All right, so Cody, it's you now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I had you there.
My number 3 is Cuckoo, which just came out in theaters for everybody to check out. So get your ass to the theater and see it. I really liked that movie. I saw it at the Overlook Film Festival. It was the opening film. I knew nothing about it, and that's the best way to see this type of movie. For as much as everybody says, I want something unique, this is something really fucking unique. It's going to be too much for some people, but it's just... It's wacky, it's weird, it's funny, it's twisted, it's got some really good scares, really good performances in it too. Hunter Schafer is great in it. I think that Dan Stevens is awesome for a year where he's had 3 really good performances. I think this is his best. Like, the movie doesn't hide at all from Jump Street that he's the villain, but he's so like entertaining and like charismatic and creepy throughout it. And, I've seen it twice. There's still some things about it I don't completely understand. And sometimes that frustrates me. And sometimes I kind of like that. And this time I kind of like that. It's just a really fucking bizarre movie that when I look at the horror movies this year, even the ones that I really love, like this is the one that sticks out to me that I'm going to want to go back and watch again.
Yeah. So I did some shuffling around my list. I'm moving things around for the sake of content. This probably should have been in the surprises, but Gray stole my number 1. Thelma is a movie about an old woman that gets tricked or conned into sending money somewhere, and it is very similar to things that you've seen in the past. It's just presented in this senior citizen element of it, and every time you watch like a spy movie and all the tech is badass, and all that stuff. It does that, but it's a comedy of sorts, and it's very funny with the way it does things. It plays it straight. Not, but don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It plays the whole tech spy thing straight, but it's a senior citizen who doesn't understand that when she highlights something, she gets to the emails, and like her dealing with the tech is funny, and they don't really do it in a way that like they lean into the laughter. It's nothing different. It's not revolutionary. It's something like Taken, or all these other Equalizer, things like that. But it's got this senior citizen angle, and I didn't expect anything of it, and I think that's why I enjoyed it. Again, I'm just kind of shuffling for the sake of having a third, but I enjoyed myself.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot too.
Lindsay, what is your number 2?
Planet of the Apes. Kingdom. What's funny is Abigail almost made it on the list as well, so then I would have had 2 movies with what's his face in it.
What's his face? Huh?
Dan Stevens.
No, say it again.
The Dan Stevens.
No, not Dan Stevens. The guy
Kevin
who was
Durant.
the big guy. Yeah, Kevin Durant. That's it. Yeah, no. And he was really good.
Right, he's in the other Monkey Glove movie. Sorry.
I recently learned he was Blob in X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's nuts. I love that. These new 8 movies have all been honestly just better and better and better and better. I went into Rise like a decade ago with very little expectations, adored it. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, even better. And then War of the Planet of the Apes is just, God, that movie punches you in the goddamn gut. And so I mean, I guess you could say I was a little nervous about, trying to bring that back and keep going, but I started seeing the trailers, and I knew I was going to adore this movie, and I went in and I loved it just even more than I thought it would. Just the way that the world is built around the crumbling human society is beautiful. I love how there's like this priest to Caesar who's traveling around spreading the word. That's just really fun and interesting. I love watching worlds evolve over the course of time and seeing that just tickled me pink. And there's just the acting, all the people playing all the different apes, absolutely incredible. I just have nothing but good things to say about this movie. I don't even know if I really have any complaints at all. I love the way it ended. I can't wait for the sequels. All around just absolute triumph of a movie for me. There's a reason why it's not my favorite. We'll get to that eventually, but I adored this movie, start to finish.
While you were talking, you missed a sugar glider. It was brief, but you missed it.
No, it's okay. I still love them, even if they hide from me.
Cody, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Nice.
Just absolute pure joy. I expected to like this. I didn't have any doubts that I would like it, but I really didn't expect it to work as much as it did for me. I figured it would probably be like Multiverse of Madness, where it's like, oh, that was cool, and I really like some things, and then I kind of forget about it. But just pretty much everything that it did for some reason just really worked for me. Whether it's the comedy, first of all. I mean, Gray brought up earlier about being starved for comedy. I'm like a fucking skeleton on the side of the road when it comes to comedy right now. So this is the most that I've laughed in the theater in years. I really like the action. They really stepped the action up in this one. As much as I was really skeptical and pretty much flat out worried about bringing Hugh Jackman back, because I'm one of those people that just adored Logan. Not that that's a rare thing. I don't know why I said it that way, but I was really worried what they were going to do with him, if it was going to taint that at all, and I don't feel like it did one bit. I loved how we kind of got this new shade of Logan, and all the different little montages that we had with the different Wolverine variants, and even the way that they had these like surprise side characters. One of them in particular was just a massive fuck yeah moment for me. And people have kind of hailed against it for the story, and I feel like the story works perfectly fine to get these characters into the places that we need them to be, just to set up the bits. It's working on the rules of a comedy.
Yeah.
So I mean, so many different moments. I saw it twice in theaters. I would go see it a third time happily, and there's very rare for me to say that. Very rare for me to see a movie twice. I mean, I hate the fact that TikTok and all these other places have clips of the movie up, but every time I pass one, I end up watching the whole clip. So, it just, I don't know. There was very little negative that I had to say about this one, and I enjoyed it even more on the second watch. It's just, I fucking loved it.
The number of times I've watched that scene where they're slaughtering all the Deadpools on the bus in the street is a little ridiculous, but I can't stop either.
Yeah, if you're trying to tell me that this is going to spiral out into other movies from here, I'm going to lose a little trust. But as its own little standalone story, cool. I'm here for it. Just especially with them fucking around and roasting Marvel for most of the movie.
Aggressively.
Yeah. Like, good. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Plus, I think it introduced Karjitsu into the Marvel universe, which is pretty amazing. It's a fast-growing sport. It's fighting while in a car. It's kind of awesome. I enjoy that quite thoroughly.
I watched
that
scene in particular so many times.
So good.
Just like, I'm gonna fight you now. He's like, "Oh, are you?"
When you said Karjitsu, I got a Simpsons flashback to when they're like fighting with motorcycles, but they're like swords, but it's like a couple of BMWs.
I thought the movie had a nice little emotional anchor too. Like it's a movie that we're always talking about the fight scenes and the comedy, but I think especially for a Deadpool film, I think it's got a really good little heartbeat to it with Deadpool wanting to kind of matter. And I mean, just saying it in general, and then the Hugh Jackman thing, like I don't know, it's everything about it worked for me.
Yeah. Gray, what's your 2?
Yeah, so love that one. Deadpool Wolverine just barely edged out of my top 3. But my number 2. It's actually, I guess, controversial. We have a friend that absolutely hates this movie and thinks it's the worst of the year. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just the perfect audience for it. I love the genres that this is going for in so many different ways.
You say tarot, I swear
late night.
God.
No, Late Night with the Devil. I don't know. For some reason, it really works for me. I love talk shows. I love horror movies. I love kind of the found footage type conceits. Just it works on so many levels for me. Like I used to work overnights, and I don't know, the guy that I worked with was super into like Coast to Coast AM. So kind of got the weird like conspiracies, but on top of that, we'd get like the odd like psychic denier. I do remember The Amazing Randy. That's kind of my introduction to that dude. There's a couple characters that are really kind of based off of these similar kind of realistic characters, like his challenge for you prove the supernatural, he'll give you money. I don't know. There's certain things about this that really work for me. I can understand why it would really turn certain people off. There are certain conceits you kind of have to go with, but man, for me, it works on so many different levels. I think I've watched it like maybe 4 times now. I'm getting more and more out of each experience with it. And then there really are kind of some hidden details that I completely missed. And I like the depth that this one has for being just such kind of a simple conceit for a little horror film. But I think all the performances are just right where I want them to be. For no other reason, this is my number 2. It's just it really spoke to me.
Right on. So again, I've been moving mine around a bit. My top 3 has been covered already, but for this, my favorite documentary of the year is Movie Pass Movie
fancy.
Crash.
Oh yeah, I need to see that.
It's on a streaming platform. I don't remember which. It might be on Netflix or Max. I think it's on Max.
Believe so.
Another thing where I think I'm bringing my own personal investment into the story. It's kind of paint by the numbers. If you've seen similar documentaries about, like, think of like Firefest and all those types of documentaries. This is very similar, and they cover an angle of the whole Movie Pass crash that for those of you who don't remember, there used to be a card before AMC Stubs where you can get a free movie every day, and the price of it was just ridiculous. And of course, it flatlined and destroyed itself because everybody who ended up signing up for it was like, this can't make sense. One month worth of subscription is less than a ticket price in New York. How are they supposed to give away one ticket every single day? And there was an angle of it that I was kind of intrigued by. I don't know if they were going for a little bit of drama, a little bit of, I don't want to say woke. There was an element where I don't recall ever hearing about any of the people behind the company and how the hierarchy worked, but I guess that's what the issue is. I didn't realize it would be that much of a story, and that could just be my lack of knowledge of the situation. But the way the movie played it made it feel like it was a bit more than how things played out, and it's not a complete documentary. There are certainly some liberties that are taken for storytelling's sake, but it was a fascinating thing. And if you remember what was happening during the short-lived life of MoviePass, it covers all that. Anything that normal people were thinking, they all were. And it was again, along the likes of the Fyre Fest, just destined to doom. And hearing about it from somebody who is there's an angle in it where the people that no longer owned or had parts of the company just needed it to last for a certain amount of time. And that was really where it kind of hit you in the gut, where they make you root for something that I don't know if a documentary should be doing that, but it was quite unfortunate how things played out with the story they presented. But yeah, MoviePass, Movie Crash, not really my two, but I'm just moving things around to get to stuff that we're not talking about.
Sorry for stealing.
No, it's fine. We all did twos, right? We're up to one.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay?
I'm Furiosa.
Really?
Yeah, I adored that movie. Is it as strong as Fury Road? Is it really obvious at times when things switch from a person to CGI? Yeah. Was there a few wonky CGI shots? Yeah, but overall, man, this movie was such a ride, and just like the silent storytelling at times, the big ass crazy world. Chris Hemsworth's performance, Chris Hemsworth's prosthetic nose. There's just so many things in this movie that I just adored, and I didn't want it to end. I just wanted to spend the rest of my life watching that movie, basically. And it just like there's something that George Miller does in these movies that I don't know if I've ever seen anyone ever do. And even since Fury Road, like the whole way that he mixes in like jump cuts with the speed ramping in order to show someone like reloading a gun where it's like really jerky and herky-gurky, but like you can see exactly what they're doing. That's just so cool. And the fact that no one else is doing it like I was explicitly looking forward to this movie just for more scenes like that, and I got it. I got it entirely, and I loved how it was kind of. We followed this character for years, not just over like the course of one crazy ass day, like in Fury Road. Like we really saw them kind of grow up, and I liked a lot of the technology using to make people that weren't Anya Taylor-Joy look like young Anya Taylor-Joy. That was a lot of fun. There's just this is a movie that I could just talk about for just hours. Like there's one. Say it again. Sorry.
No.
No. Oh, okay.
No, for hours. Sorry.
No, I'm done. If I can't talk, I'm done. No. It's just a wild, fucking awesome movie. I've seen it twice in theaters. I almost saw it a third time. I adored it.
You were the one.
Yeah, I was the one guy.
All the box office. That was Lindsay.
Woo.
Gray, what do you got for number one?
Yeah, it's kind of vanilla, I guess. It was kind of early in the year, and I think it's the other big budget
I know what
one.
you're getting.
Yeah, I think so. So if somebody else has something better to say about it, like, please do. But yeah, Denis Villeneuve's masterpiece, Dune Part Two. I had a couple of issues with kind of the pacing of the first one, but I don't know. He said in a bunch of different interviews the pacing that he wanted for this one was a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. So I don't know. It works so much more for me. I'm not sure what that's saying about me, but yeah, I absolutely love the look of this. It is very much a similar look to the first one, but just there's so many areas that it feels like he completely improved on. Just visually, it's a masterpiece. The soundtrack to it is just amazing. The actual like audio for it, I got to see this one in an IMAX one, and my God, it is a visceral feeling when you get to see those worms and everything, and then the whole lead up to the first ride. Man, that film is. There's just so many things that are going to stick with me. I think that's just a masterpiece. So yeah, I realize it's very vanilla, if you will, but yeah,
Very
man, that one
scandalous
is
take,
just
Mhm.
yeah, it's. I absolutely love that one. Where I don't know, I wasn't blown away by the first one, but something about this one, the pacing on it's just it hit on for me just perfectly. I'm usually not a Chalamet fan. I think Wonka was the worst choice that I've ever seen. So I don't know, to have him really come off as like the hero, as like Paul Atreides, just yeah. I really I dig this movie. Can't say enough good about it. I think it's my film of the year for sure. I don't know. Maybe there's a certain film opening this weekend that could beat it for me, but
Wow.
we'll see.
No, Dune is very close number 4 for me. Like I could flippy floppy between it and Apes pretty easily, depending
Yeah,
on the
that's
day.
not very that's not scandalous a take at all.
I'll
But
show you Scandalous.
I think I might have it. Again,
Oh.
keep in mind that I've kind of rearranged my list as the show's been going on. My top 3 have been mentioned already, but my number 1, technically for the sake of this conversation, is Civil War.
Yeah, okay.
For as much as it's kind of got issues and people complain about it, I don't care about why America's fighting with itself, and it's something that I happen to watch. Maybe it's a bit of nostalgia because I saw this on a date with Brian, but the whole theme of us going to see a movie, Civil War, was it was kind of cute, but we ended up both kind of really enjoying it, and it's rather well made. They do go a little hard, making the journalists seem a little romantic or romanticized, but I really took in it's not important why they're fighting, just what would happen while they're fighting, and I'm okay with that. The ending is a little convenient. Things must be really bad if that ending happens the way it does, but it's good to see Garfield back to making films like this and less like Men. But yeah,
Garfield?
Garland.
Oh, Garland. I was thinking around like, what? Andrew Garfield was in Civil War? I missed that entire.
It's an inside joke. Somebody called him. Yeah, it's not technically my one, but it's something that I could have put in one of the categories, whether it be positive surprises or otherwise. But
You know, it's a great moment in Civil War that's not talked about a lot, like the sniper scene, where they're just like everyone's pinned down, and like the reporter guy's trying to be like, so which side of the war are you on? And the guy's just like, bro, he's shooting at you, I'm not. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like that's such a great little moment.
The camera work, it's something that
Mhm.
we both noticed. Brian's a cinematographer, and he has a different term for it. He called it pull focus. And I'm like, what, you mean rack focus? Is that what you're talking about? It's the same thing.
Mhm.
But the way they would zoom in between the snipers and a flower at a hot second, really, really good camera work. And for as much as you would expect a Civil War movie to be like big explosions, and they kind of put that shot of the Lincoln Memorial getting blown up, like that's it's a bit of a cock tease because it's not like Independence Day or anything like that. It's very small in scale, oddly enough, and it's more about the people that are going through the war. If you're not expecting some gigantic action movie, I would venture to say that you'd be surprised. But as long as you don't mind not knowing why we're fighting, I would say that. Daddy Mac, Cody Leach, what do you got for number one?
Number one for me is Abigail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, I love this fucking movie so much. I mean, when you realize that The Lost Boys is a top 5 of all time film for me, it should make sense. This is another movie I saw at Overlook, and it was the closing film. And I always figured I would like it. Like, Radio Silence stuff has been pretty good. I haven't loved any other movies up to this point, but, vampire, ballerina, people stuck in like a little siege situation while she's sneaking around eating them one by one. Like, I was like, that sounds fun. Like, that's at least going to be a good time. And I just loved everything about it. I think that it's such a fun movie, but it's also very visceral and gory. I think the cast is hilarious and enjoyable. I mean, they're all people that you should hate, but you really like all of them, to where even though they're bad people and they're getting eaten by a monster, you're like, oh, I wanted more of them. And Kevin Durant is hilarious in this movie as like the dumbest fucking dude ever. Every line that he has just killed in the theater. And even the little girl who plays Abigail nailed it as being very cute and unassuming at first, even though the premise, and then very much turning to have like the power, the way that the movie kind of twists and turns, who's got the upper hand throughout the last half was really fun. Doing some plays on vampire lore and how it works, like what happens when you bite somebody, what happens,
Yeah.
Really cool little twists and turns. So I had a blast with it at Overlook. I took my dad to go see it whenever it released wide and had equally as good a time. I watched it at home with my youngest. She loved it. I loved it again. So it's a movie that's absolutely made for me, and I had a blast with it.
Yeah.
Right on. Anybody else for Abigail? And well, not you.
Yeah, I love that flick. I think it might be in my top 10.
Yeah, it's probably number 5. I don't know. Once you get up to the top 5 for me, it's always like my mood will determine what's where. But I watched Abigail with my brother, and we had so much goddamn fun with it. It's a slow burn, but in like the best way possible. Because like it takes its time before it gets to the girl being a vampire, doing vampire things. But like it's such an awesome ride while it's taking its time, and then it just gets better once she starts doing the vampire things. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was discussion about the premise of the movie being spoiled.
Yeah, I still see that going on. It drives me nuts.
I think we discussed this a couple of times. I would say just cut off. It's somewhere on this channel. Never mind that. So to the rest of the year, somebody brought it up. I think it was you, Gray. That this upcoming weekend might be a big hitter for you.
I hope so.
So Alien
I don't want to
Romulus.
be putting too much into it, but yeah, I love the franchise. This looks like it's returned to form. So
Yeah.
I hope for the best.
Anything else? Anybody else? The year ahead? I mean, I'm trying to keep my expectations in check, but if Romulus is just decent, it might be a hit for me, just because I've been burned by that franchise so much. Which is like, all right,
We all have.
as long as it's not terrible, I'm okay with that. But if it's great, we don't deserve that. Or
Yeah,
at least Fox doesn't.
I'm hoping I'll have a new top 3 by the time I walk out of the theater. That's high up there. For somebody that really is not a fan of Tim Burton, I'm really interested in Beetlejuice. It just looks like they've kind of tapped into it. So I don't know. As a casual fan of the original, that's got my attention.
Michael Keaton's always fun. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, and though you always take what an actor says with a grain of salt about their projects, he's like really talked high. He's like, I love this movie. I absolutely love that we did it. Like, of course, he's not going to shit on it, but something about the way he said it, like it feels honest. There's a movie coming out called Azrael with Samara Weaving that played at the Overlook Film Festival. I didn't get a chance to see it because Uncle Sean didn't care so much for it, and he's like, I'm in the oddball though. Like everybody else loved it, so check it out. And I didn't take his advice. I was like, I mean, if you said he didn't like it, we'll see some other stuff. And everybody else in our little group went to go see Azrael. It came out, and they're like, easily the best of the festival. Holy shit! And so it's been on my radar ever since. That comes out end of September.
Interesting.
Joker could go either way.
Yeah,
Not
Trevor
really sure
brought
about that one.
Probably a do.
$1 billion franchise.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it
Yeah.
twice.
Terrifier 3, I'm really looking forward to. What else do we have? Nosferatu for sure on Christmas.
Yeah, that one interests me.
I'm not necessarily interested in this one, but I am curious about it. Gladiator 2.
I'm gonna
Should
have
be
to see it.
interesting.
The music in the trailer alone makes me question it. And with Napoleon, I
Ridley
don't know.
Scott is what makes me question it, because I don't know what I've liked that he's done over the last 15 years aside from The Martian. Like, I feel like
Oh wow!
I mean, that horse being hit with the cannonball was kind of cool, but yeah.
You sadist.
One thing I'm kind of looking forward to that's a little differently. I think it's a documentary. I keep Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. I keep hearing like little things about it. I don't know too much about it, but Christopher Reeve was a dope dude. So if it's a documentary about him, I'm super down.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, usually I'm familiar with some of the stuff that comes out around Thanksgiving, Christmas time. Nothing is on my radar for quote unquote award season.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's good or bad. Like, I guess it'll be like, because Iron Claw certainly wasn't. I watched that this year. My location might have had something to do with it, but I like being
I
surprised.
was not
by
expecting anything from that or Holdovers. I thought both of those, like, I know what those
That's another
sappy
one.
things are going to be. And man, both of those really like hit me hard.
Yeah. So I don't, thankfully, I don't have anything in mind right now, but it is. Alien Romulus is kind of a big deal for me. But I don't have as much faith in something like Terrifier 3. And that's only because of what happened with Maxine this year. That isn't exactly a letdown for me, but it wasn't a hit for me either. So I don't know why I let how I feel about other franchises affect different ones, but
Brian got to you.
yeah, I didn't tell you what we did on that movie date.
Yeah.
What do you?
This is interesting. Have you guys heard about this? An anime Lord of the Rings film?
It's coming out this year?
Yeah, and like late December? I'm trying to decide if that's the best or worst idea I've ever heard in my life. Like, I love anime. I love Lord of the Rings. Do they
It's got to be close to done, right?
Theoretically? It's scheduled for release on December 13th, 2024, and I have not heard anything about this until just right now.
Yeah, I would assume that they would have had something, footage, picture, so on and so forth, to
Right?
show us by now. That's a little alarming.
Crazy idea, though. I'm down. Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds like free money. So,
Yeah, right? Yeah.
what about you in the chat? We'll open it up to you guys for 5-10 minutes, and then we'll bid you folly adieu. But I just want to go out and say thank you to my show business brethren, Lindsay and Gray, pulling in all-nighter here, and obviously the big timer Cody Leach for dragging his 6 times audience over here.
What do you guys think about that trailer for Speak No Evil, by the way? Because that looks
see-
like that's a classic, like giving away too much, right? Am I crazy about that? Like that feels like it's
No,
way
it gives away damn near the entire movie.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Classic Jason Blum trailer where it's like,
Okay.
here's the movie in 2 minutes.
Okay, cool.
And it's a remake. It's another, like Cody was talking about it earlier, that
Oh, did I miss that? Sorry.
the European version is better,
Ooh, okay.
it seems.
I'm hearing some reactions that give me a little bit of interest. Like, to me, when they said they were doing a remake to it, I was like, like why it's technically a foreign film, but they speak English.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of weird and annoying. And then they said Blumhouse is doing it, and I'm like, so it's going to be sanitized all to hell. And then then the trailer came out and just didn't give me any hope for it either. But I've seen some early reactions that basically all come from people that thought the same thing, and they're like, there's actually some really interesting changes, and it actually exists along the original as something that's kind of worthy. So we'll see. And you got to take early reactions with like a whole container of salt. But I'm curious enough about it. But I also had an email where they were like, hey, we're reaching out. We want you to do a silent trailer reaction to the second trailer that's coming out next week. You interested? What? Who the fuck wants to watch a silent trailer reaction, first of all? And then the fact that they had instructions in there, they're like, we want to see a lot of energy, and if you need direction on how to do this, we can, like, I'm like, okay. So
I want to see a lot of zeros in my bank account.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, so this is the type of shit that people accuse, influencers and everything of being fake. Yeah, it's because of fucking things like this. So, yeah.
Has anybody seen this video that Gavin's talking about? Fede Alvarez posted.
Oh no, I've been trying to avoid things.
Yeah, I'm not watching anything.
Yeah.
I know I'm watching it, so I'm all set.
I'm sure it's amazing. Like, I'm not hating. Like, I'm sure it looks dope as hell.
I'm gonna dig through all that stuff, provided it is on the level it looks like it is.
Right.
Yeah, like I know I'm gonna be digging through all the behind the scenes stuff, but I'm kind of trying to avoid it right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I shouldn't say anything because I'll be held to it. But I feel like if this is a positive feeling, I might reshuffle or re-record my Alien ranking. But that's me expecting things. So I gotta stop that.
No one expects things.
I don't, because then I go in expecting something good. I'm like, stupid me. But yeah, it seems like I keep talking about the signs and the fact that they moved up the press screener. Like, they had it already. It happened today. Usually they happen on Tuesdays. And if they go early, that usually means that they're confident. And I think I'm just talking myself into, there's no way it'll be bad, but that's usually how things get fucked up. Because it's me we're talking
about. It can't be the worst one.
That's true.
Let me message Uncle Sean and see if he'll respond in time with just a thumbs up.
Ooh.
Or thumbs down.
All right. He's been there and probably back by now. Yeah. Oh, Manny. Yes, The Substance. That is with Demi Moore in it, right? I don't know when the hell that's being released. I think that premiered at Cannes or Con, and apparently it's really fucked up, and it sounds right up my who would like that alley. So I was intrigued by the premise, and apparently it got some mojo over at Cannes. The Substance.
Con. Sorry.
Jacob says The Substance looks fun. Vincent, what's going on? The Lord of the Rings anime has a director with good credits.
That's cool. Who is it?
So it's not Eli Roth.
I don't know the name. Kenji. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. He worked on like the original DuckTales. That's dope as hell.
Woohoo!
Wow.
Right? Star Wars Visions. Some of those were cool. Some of them not so much.
I'm unfamiliar.
The Star Wars Visions was an anime take on Star Wars. It was like a bunch of like little mini things. Like each one's like 10 to 15 minutes, something like that.
Oh.
It's on Disney Plus. I recommend it. Again, some of them aren't great, but the ones that are good are really good.
Oh, Disney Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Shouldn't be scandalous at all.
So that's cool. Actually, yeah, that makes me really excited for anime Lord of the Rings. Let's freaking go, man.
I'm sure I'll be checking that one out for sure, too. But that Substance looks pretty interesting. I got to check that one out.
Who's the director? Are you looking at it?
I just closed it. Give me one moment. But the one that I was kind of looking forward to is actually a Hugh Grant one. I think it's released in November, but Heretic. It actually looks kind of decent for like a one. He seemed like he had a pretty good turn in that.
It's like a crazy maze thing, right? And like the two nuns in training or something like that. Like, yeah, that looks sick.
Believe so. But yeah, that one looks kind of fun. I hope it's as good as the trailer because that hooked me. It's an A24 one.
Yeah, that was the thing about Civil War for me. I was worried that A24 finally might have a stinker, but nah, then I ended up loving it. So nope, their record's still clean, or at least I haven't seen anything I didn't like yet.
But it looks like Coralie Fargeet is the director of The Substance.
Oh, yeah, I'm wrong about whatever I thought I was thinking.
I just clicked on Sean's out of theater reaction, and to sum it up, 90% the movie that he really wanted, 10% he has to sit on for a bit to.
I'm okay with 10% questionable.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's like a Dexter season, that 10% is pretty fucking brutal.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's okay. Yeah, I'm assuming it wasn't like AVPR and was in focus and lit.
I still can't believe how do you make it's like that Game of Thrones episode that was so dark you can't see anything. Like, how do you do that? Well, you're in the process of making it. How do you not stop and be like, should we turn a light on?
I don't. Yeah, well, they were heavy on CG, right? Isn't that like they were trying to avoid showing just how much nothing they had to film?
Yeah, probably.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Still.
But yeah, that's comforting. Thanks, Sean. Troy, $5 super chat. Thank you. A vanilla Coke for you, CP.
Oh.
Cheers. Cody, you're Southern now. You get a big red, or maybe a squirt.
Oh, big
Absolutely
red. I haven't
not.
had that in a minute. Yeah, okay.
What squirt?
Squirt's
Are those
kinda
soda
like,
names?
it's a citrusy soda. I don't know what the fuck Big Red is, but it doesn't sound like something I could drink.
That's gum here.
No,
Oh my
it's
god,
not
is
that
it
one,
cinnamon
man. It's
soda?
up.
Oh.
And Lindsay and Gray, you do you. Sip what you like.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, my friend.
Cody, you can't have what you like.
Thank you,
You have
sir.
to drink Big Red or squirt.
Yeah, because you're in the South. It's a Southern thing.
Sounds like piss.
Oh, you should get some Big Red and boiled peanuts. It'll be great.
Got any Dr. Thunder back there?
What's that song from Sweeney Todd? Looks like piss, tastes like piss.
What?
Oh, no one else remembers that? Okay. No,
The song about the pies. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Squirt is a poor man's Fanta.
Yeah, it's a citrusy soda. I know what Squirt is. I probably had one as a kid at some point, but Big Red, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's like cheer wine or something, like a cherry soda.
Southern people drink squirt. Southern people drink what?
Piss.
Kind of its own thing. It's this weird red soda. I don't know if it's quite like a red cream soda, but I don't know. Big Red's decent. Highly recommend.
So
I'll take a
another.
Coke or a Mr. Pibb. I'm good with those two.
Fair enough.
While they still have them, I've been drinking raspberry Coke because my place hasn't recognized that I'm back and haven't been stocking vanilla Coke well.
I don't know where the fuck you keep going where they don't have vanilla Coke. I've never
Dude.
been anywhere that doesn't have vanilla Coke. Like that's just that and cherry are like the prerequisites anywhere I go. How do you have spicy raspberry Coke and you don't have vanilla Coke?
I don't know. You would think like when I'm in town, they should know because I do damage at my local supermarket. They should prepare accordingly, but
Can't you like Amazon it?
yeah, the shipping would be out my asshole though because it's cans. It's heavy shit.
Amazon Prime doesn't have it?
I don't think so. I mean, I haven't looked that hard, but I usually find something that I'll end up drinking. I'm a bit of an addict, so it's just like whatever. It's right here. I'll take it. The movie that may not even get a release anymore that also premiered at Cannes is got a little scandal behind it, and I'll try to avoid talking about real life implications. It's a film about our 45th president, and it's not about his presidency, but it's a film titled The Apprentice, and it's about a rich man from New York, and it takes place in the 90s and 2000s.
Who's the star of that again? I forgot. It's what's his name from
Bucky.
Yeah, that's interesting casting.
Yeah, apparently they want to bury the movie because it was funded by somebody who is supportive of the 45th president, and apparently it wasn't as favorable as that person would have expected. So we may never see that movie.
I don't
that's
want to see that.
disappointing.
I don't want to see everything I see on the fucking internet right now.
That's true.
Yes, yes, I agree. But you know, covering him in the '90s sounds interesting. Back when he was just the rich asshole.
I mean, if it's a movie about the production of Home Alone 2 from the point of view of Donald Trump, like, I'm super down. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Gray, you're going to abstain here from a...
I don't know anything about the controversy or the flick, but yeah,
Oh.
Home Alone 2 was pretty awesome. Lost in New York.
It just feels like at that point, if there's really something interesting to be told about that era, like, that's not what anybody's really going to be interested in now.
Right.
Like, that anything he did in the past is just white noise now. Now it's
Right.
he's just that guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I just don't know who that would be for. Like, even his followers, like, that's not
it's
what they're there for. So
apparently it's not even political. It's just like about him being a rich New Yorker guy in the '90s or whatever. So I was like, what?
sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's a bit art house, all right, but I don't know. The fact that it was funded by somebody who was expecting something else is...
It's interesting.
Why can't they do that with all these biopics, for fuck's sake? The exact opposite happens. Oh, you're a producer? We're going to make this exactly the way you want it. But not this case. Manny says, today's my 21st birthday. Watching this live stream has been a great
Happy
start to my
birthday.
day. Right on, Manny. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, bud.
Twisters releases on digital today, so I'm going to eventually watch that later. Awesome. Hope it's a fun watch. It should be. It certainly should be.
I had fun with it. I don't know how much that's going to translate to home because the original Twister, I mean, what was that, 96?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, 6 years old. So at 6 years old, I learned through Twisters that a movie can be awesome in the theater and kind of suck when you watch it at home.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't have the same experience. You're just like, oh, no
Yeah.
surround sound, not the big giant screen. Like,
Yeah.
it was a fun movie though. I enjoyed Twisters more than I did the original, honestly.
Oh, shit. Shots
Yeah.
fired.
I think if you should watch something on a big screen, Twisters is probably one of those movies.
Yes.
Just wow.
Most
that was
of
a
my
hot take.
enjoyment.
No Paxton. Oh, come on.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I just said that you should, if you're going to watch it, a big screen might be the way to do it. Gray, what do
Yeah,
you
it's
what do you
your
got?
birthday. Do it.
Oh, hold on. Stephen Hendricks, $10 super chat. Thank you. Frick, I missed the live stream, probably off subject, but have you guys discussed the Halloween video games that John Carpenter apparently involved in? We have.
I saw that announced today, but I didn't really dive into it much. I'm kind of over the horror video game train because they all just are some variation of Dead by
Same
Daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 new games based on the 78 horror classic are in development at Boss Team Games. Never heard of them. While details are limited, both games are apparently being developed in conjunction with the producers of the Halloween franchise. One of the games developed with Unreal Engine 5 and will include input from director John Carpenter, who is, famously a gamer. And he makes quotes all the time about how I just want to play my games, watch basketball, and get my royalty checks. As a huge gamer myself, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Is he at least doing the music in this? Because that could be awesome.
Oh, I don't know. As a huge gamer myself, I'm thrilled to help bring Michael Myers to life again in this game. My hope is to scare you silly. The games will allow players to relive moments from the film and play as classic characters from one of the most iconic and important horror films of all time.
Sounds neat.
I mean, 2 different games, so I'm assuming one of them is going to be something like Until Dawn or something like that, where you kind of make decisions and live through movie events, and the other one's probably going to be like a Dead by Daylight,
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw. I mean, that's what they do with all of them. So
No, it's fun. Yeah, I need to know what the price point is, to be honest with you. Because if
I
it's on
had
Game
a
Pass,
surprising amount of fun with Texas Chainsaw, but
that got old quick though for me.
yeah,
I agree. It's
got old for you because you were everybody's bitch every time you played it. Cody, help! Never mind, I'm dead.
Playing with you is playing with a partner is a bit more fun, and especially
Very
the
much so.
entertainment of the stupidity of my asses. It made it last a little bit longer for me, but yeah, those are good times. That's on your Game Chamber channel, isn't it? Those streams.
Yeah.
Nice. See, there you go. Lindsay, what do you got coming up?
I've been continuing my playing with YouTube Shorts. I was actually rushing to try and get one done before we hopped on live stream. I didn't, so it'll be up tonight. Talking about Borderlands, one of my worst movies of the year so far. So if you want to hear me say even more stuff, check that out.
Sweet. Great. Welcome back. And what do you have coming up?
Thank you. Yeah, supposedly I'm a YouTuber. I should have stuff on my channel again shortly. I'm in the middle of like 3 videos. I need to actually like make one of them. It's taking forever. But hey, if you want more of this lovely conversation with at least 50% of the people you saw today, go over to That Darn Kidda's channel for The Thinkers every Thursday. We got people from like 3 continents, maybe more. Who knows? We all get together and disagree on everything. So come by. It's awesome. Check it out.
Continents.
That Darn Kidda.
Yeah. If you enjoy Brian and I discussing and arguing about movies, this is that, but like about everything. So things get pretty sticky. So if you're into that, by all means, the wide discussions are quite that wide and heated. Cody, thank you for joining us today, sir.
No problem. So of course we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, but Alien's coming out this weekend. So have a review for that on Friday. I'll be doing my Alien ranking update, most likely on Saturday, but possibly Sunday, depending on how things go. We also have Strange Darling, which I also I've seen twice at this point. I saw it at Fantastic Fest, and I watched it here recently with a screener. I do want to do a review of that. Next week, I think, is The Crow and this movie called Stream, which is like a video game type themed slasher from a lot of the people involved with Terrifier. Yeah, and then I'm doing. They're currently doing the poll on my Patreon page for what the Patreon pick video is going to be this month, and as of right now, top 10 horror movie soundtracks is leading. So I don't know if that'll win or not.
Nice.
But if it does, you'll get that sometime within the next week.
Sweet. As for me, for reasons, I reviewed The Mousetrap, and I've decided to. I don't have a sandbag or anything, but I'm more better lit. So, like I said, if I enjoy Alien, I don't know if I'll do a review for that, but if it's enough where I want to discuss my ranking, that may happen in the near future. And have we ironed out a date, Cody, for?
Oh yeah, not a day, but this weekend. So tentatively this weekend. Whatever day we decide on, the opposite day will be my Alien ranking. But yes, since all 5 of us have our videos up now, and before things get hectic and we have to start watching films for October's video, you'll have your 31 on 31 Night of Comedy debrief sometime this weekend.
Right on.
Nice.
Thank you, obviously, to Lindsay Gray and Cody Leach for joining us for this. Thank you to all of you in the chat, and obviously thank you to those who basically funded another month of EvMux. Thank you for the super chats. We don't have to have this logo in our face this month, and we'll see you next time.